Here this morning for markets right across the board. We're actually just testing session lows here for both the Nasdaq and the S&P ahead of a whole bunch of key economic data to come over the next few days here. We'll get obviously the Fed decision coming up on Wednesday afternoon. Import-export data still waiting for March to come through there. 140.5 billion was the balance of trade for March, just out there at 8:30. 278.5 billion for the export side, 419 billion higher than expected there for March on the import side of things as well. There's a 10-year auction coming up later this afternoon. Speaking of the 10-year, back to the upside once again, 2 or 3 days in a row here for basically all of the yields, as we were touching on late in the morning yesterday. The CME Fed Funds tool, basically no chance of a change going out to June now. We're down to about 30% even in June itself. So we'll see how that plays out going forward. But a lot riding, I think, on what Fed Chair Powell is going to say at the press conference coming up tomorrow afternoon. So make sure you're with us for that. It'll be live at 2:30 as always. As far as individual movers here, that's the overall market, as I mentioned, back to basically session lows at this point. Palantir, everyone keeping an eye on, 8.5% here to the downside. Really hasn't done much this morning, just kind of basing out here a little bit. Pretty disappointing sales numbers once again coming from Tesla over in Germany this time, down huge on a year-over-year basis. So this downside move continues. I remember if you zoom out here, I mean, we had a pretty decent bounce off those lows going back a week and a half or so ago. So we're just kind of chopping around if you zoom out, but not good though for Tesla once again over in Europe.
Both Germany and England, Brendo, down markedly year over year. And England was a bright spot for them. If you look back a few months ago, you saw sales in Spain, you saw sales in Germany all drop off, but England hadn't, now that it has. And the EV sales continue to grow in England. That's kind of the sad part there. Lots to talk about, guys. HIMS reporting aggressively down here to start the morning. DataDog as well, another one that reported this morning down 2.5%. A bit of a theme here, a lot of red. Celsius as well. China, though, KWeb, FXI, a nice bright spot there as the market might be pricing in a possible deal. DoorDash also reporting, Brendo, as well as Ford. And here's an interesting headline. Google making a deal with Magma, Waymo, that is. They're opening up a plant apparently to create or to produce the Jaguar I-Pace, which they've been using, as well as a Zeekr. So nice to see a kind of a collaboration there. On that note as well, Uber with another robotaxi headline teaming up over in the Middle East, teaming up with a company called Pony AI. We touched on that last week. I forget what the company was called, but they did another deal last week for North America on the robotaxi side of things. So again, Pony AI teaming up with Uber over in the Middle East to continue there. I mean, there was an analyst note I read this morning that basically said Uber's most likely going to win this race, this robotaxi race, and they're so far ahead already that it's going to be hard for people to catch up. You mentioned this one, Ford, 2% to the downside here. They're looking at 1.5 billion tariff impact over the next couple of years. They did, however, say they expect tariffs to only last for 3 years. Yeah, I would hope so. I think, definitely that's going to be the amount of time it takes them to reshore a lot of their stuff and create the factories that they need to create. So I think that 3-year time horizon is quite appropriate. Yeah, I mean, it's also obviously the tenure of the current president. So they also withdrew their guidance. So yeah, Ford downside here. I mean, it could be a lot worse, only 2% here. Sean with a day off today. Obi's in. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, everybody. I know everyone's so excited to trade Ford today, as Brendan mentioned, doing absolutely nothing, but the movement is here. Like the volatility is all over the place. Like the number of, I wrote down a lot of numbers on my iPad, which usually means there's a lot of things moving around and in play at key levels. Obviously, Palantir is going to be a bit of a thing. We all saw in the aftermarket show, and thanks for everyone tuning into the market recap and sticking around. Because it was this and HIMS, and neither one of them broke out, or at least were able to sustain the breakout. You did have an all-time high test. I mean, it got to 130 on Palantir, and it didn't matter whether you beat. Didn't matter that they got it higher. The profit taking just came in en masse. I mean, we talked about valuation last night as being a part of it, but now down 8.5%. It puts it within the realm of SSR, down 10% today, which sometimes we get those nice mean reversion plays off of that. So it's a big one in play. HIMS wasn't able to crack through that 43 level, as you guys, and you can probably already see Tesla testing the lows, down 2%. Tesla's been in this range, right? We test the bottom of that range today, it feels, Obi, as Yeah, at the market, we had 9 days in a row to the upside.
Yeah, a little bit
And it's a kind of a reversion style market. So looking a little bit down today, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think reversion is definitely on my mind for sure. I think that again, I was reading that that headline in the morning, being like, "Oh, we've broken the longest bid that we've held in 20 years," and that was that 9-day bid. But yeah, no, kind of looking at a higher time frame here on the spider. Something interesting that I did point out earlier, I think sometime last week, was the anchored at which we're sitting in and around at. So that's I think that was FOMC from back in December. Some aggressive selling coming in off of that report there, and then kind of a sideways chop since then. You can see you can drop an anchor to the high as well. We're trading in and around some of those levels here, so I think a pullback maybe a little bit there if we're going to have a reversion. But yeah, it's still kind of well within trend. This is a 3-hour chart here, so well within trend. I think we can easily pull back down into the moving or the anchored here in and around 546, or we can also break out as well. So just keeping those levels in mind. But yes, poised for a little bit of a pullback here. I think again, trend breaks. I like it when the trend breaks, because I think there is a little bit of a short-term opportunity, if anything. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see if there's actual follow-through. But one of the #1 tickers on my watch today is Palantir, of course.
It has to be.
I know a lot of people are watching that. Absolutely killer report, but we'll be getting to that a little bit later.
No questions asked. And I know how, being such a gigantic and massive sports fan, as I know you are,
of course.
Obi,
Yeah.
I'm sure you share our sentiments in worrying about the Maple Leafs goalie's health. Stolarz took a couple of shots in the head, and maybe look, it doesn't look good. He actually ended up going out.
Got injured,
yeah, he ended up going out in a stretcher from the arena, which the Leafs managed to pull off the win, but ultimately you lose your starting goalie like that. Hopefully you can rally the troops, but you hope for the best of him. That's the thing. Like, hockey's the kind of sport. Like it's interesting because everyone's talking about the shot that he took from the forearm to the head, but really he saved a puck right to the mask, and that was pretty jarring. So he'd probably taken a couple of shots that game, and it just stayed in. That's how tough these guys are. So shout out to the Leafs for pulling off that win. It's going to be a bit of a tough road. I think without their goalie, no suspension for the guy that gave him the shot in the head. I mean, whatever. Sometimes I don't get it, but apparently you're just allowed to forearm shiver goalie in the back or the side of the head, and no consequences or repercussions. Sounds like a naked short seller. You can just get away with it, and no one seems to care.
Oh boy,
but, it is what it is.
As long as it's within the rules, right?
It's not, though. That's the thing.
When I'm talking about naked short seller.
Well, the naked short seller, that's not within the rules either. It's just it is what it is, right? We always talk about that. Shout out to Arsis FX, and we got another super chat in here from you. Appreciate you. Eat your apples, boys.
They're plums.
Things are gonna get crunchy today. So, yeah, these are plums today. I've already started on. I have way too much fruit on my desk. I've got 2 plums. I got the bowl of fruit. Yeah, I got that. Whoops. There's a bowl of fruit. Because I somehow don't.
I got that as well.
And then I have my banana. Then we got the plum.
Ample amounts of, a little bit of red with some yellow. So we're looking at
you took too much water.
The bid and some mid prints as well. My mid prints are usually yellow. But I took a look. I'm pretty sure my mid prints are yellow.
Mine are white. So I got the melon.
I'm pretty sure I finished. I grabbed all the pineapples.
No, you didn't.
I 100% did.
You did?
Yeah.
First of all, I was the first person to get to the fruit bowl, so I know how much pineapple's in there.
There was not much pineapple.
I can tell you right now, based on how much is in Obi's bowl, there's not a single pineapple left for anybody else. As he does the evil.
Oh boy.
And Adair
there's
just
only
said
5
he always
pieces
does
of
that.
pineapple. Come on.
There's
a camera in the kitchen. Yeah, I know. You've heard of the famous story of the Hamburglar. You remember the Hamburglar? Yes.
Let's just say somebody took lunch when they weren't supposed to and got caught. It wasn't anybody on the show, and got caught on camera and then never lived it down, because there was like the photo image as if he was some kind of an actual thief. Like, you know the ones they put up on the news? It's like looking for this gentleman wearing whatever. It was one of those.
Literally one of those pictures.
He took a hamburger.
Yeah.
Anyways, you did take all the pineapple though, Obi.
I will finish.
You better enjoy that. That's all I'm saying. Let's get back to the desk.
Right. Just noting Rivian here, down to session lows once again. It's not a huge move, but 1.6%. Rivian saying they're going to invest $120 million in Illinois supplier park to streamline production ahead of its R2 SUV launch. I mean, the market kind of continuing downside here as well. So 1.5% here. What a V bottom that was yesterday off the open there for Rivian. Nice little bounce, but trying to get back down to that low maybe today.
Can't wait to hear on the call, Brendo, about the R2, what to expect for the R2. I think that's what moves the needle here for Rivian. It's already kind of, the R1's been priced in for a long time. It's also very expensive, definitely not market grabbing like the R2. Also the R3, Brendo, which is the smaller version. That's, I think, 2027 we were talking about, expecting the R2 2022. So I'm all ears tonight on the earnings call. Good look here, though. $60 million investment will please Donald Trump.
Yeah, I was saying I was out of the city on the weekend, and for the first time, I really noticed more and more Rivians, both directions, up north and back down into the city on Sunday. There was a lot of them on the road, both the SUVs and the trucks. So
it makes sense up there too, right? Like it's such a big truck, and obviously big families up there.
Yeah. So good to see. I mean, let's see how they do. It's a tough market, I guess, for a company like this at this point. But yeah, we'll see how they go.
Can I tell you, it holds its value quite well too. Like even on the used market, a couple of years old, it's not really dropping below 100,000 on this side of the border anyway.
I wonder if that's more just a result of the fact that they're not as saturated as Tesla at this point. There's so many Teslas around at this point that they, on the other hand, are starting to not. But anyways, Rivian coming up tonight, guys.
Yeah, and what, like, one of those silent, I don't want to say it's not a silent rally, but it's not often that we don't talk about something that goes up that many days in a row. I suppose when it's Rivian, that's the case. But once again, Rivian bounces off 10 and gets all the way to the $14 level. It's just been giving you that opportunity. Unfortunately, it feels like going into the earnings, it's still having trouble when it becomes a teenager and you're having another sell-off. It is the way it reverted yesterday. It does make you want to put it on watch. There is so much to look at. Like I turn right, I got Palantir there, I got AMD, and then there's Apple, Tesla's going to be in play. There's a lot to be paying attention to here. And I think obviously you've got to be able to pick and choose. 1280 looks like a good spot to look for a reversion. Where it turned yesterday was sort of in the middle of nowhere. It makes another leg down. That would be a good spot to look at. You do wonder, obviously they would do much better if we get like an environment where rates are coming down. And I think that does bode well for them here. And you're back above the 200 period moving average. That's where I'd probably look to make some kind of a play. Like if it does come down, you test 1280, you're going to be testing the 200 period moving average, which is flattening out a little bit here along with the 50. That's usually a decent sign of a consolidation period. All bets are off when it comes to the earnings. We'll see how that one goes. But for a trade today, I think for a lot of what you're looking at in this particular market, it's like mean reversion plays have just been it. You're not getting those easy consolidative type bottoms on a stock that's dropping. Sometimes you might see that up at the top, but not at the bottom. It's just a trend, and you take your shot when it shows you a trend break, and then you get your reversion. And the interesting thing is, I think you can try that in the afternoon too as well. Obi and I were just talking about that. That wouldn't have worked for you on a Rivian, but like most times, something like this is something that I would take a shot at. But that reversion off the lows, it's just a play. 1280, 200 period moving average, that's where I'd look on Rivian ahead of their earnings. But I don't think I'd be buying it up here necessarily. Clearly the market is looking like it's a little bit weak early on.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about reversions, Neil, we've been like you said, we've been bidding up on Rivian. I know as soon as I throw that up, all my anchors show up. But yeah, look at this break of trend there. We did break that trend, and interestingly enough, that V-shaped recovery, that reversion you're talking about, that happened at the end of going into the end of the day. Started off at the beginning of the day there around 10:30. It turns, kind of bids right back up. Guess where it came back into? It came back to retest that higher time time frame, kind of a trend that we've been holding, and maybe that comes in as a bit of support turned resistance. We're gapping down a little bit below prior days, end of day consolidation lows there on Rivian. So yeah, maybe some support turned resistance. I'm going to be watching this one a little bit on the sidelines with earnings coming up after hours today. Rivian could definitely be interesting. Yesterday's reversion, definitely very, very nice. But yeah, I'm curious to know whether or not we even make it back up here. Look at that little double, triple top here from yesterday. 1360s apparently. So yeah, we'll see if Rivian has anything in store for us today. But yeah, earnings going to be very spicy at the end of the day today.
What is also spicy is our good friend who drops by to give us some insights every Tuesday. Let's see what Money Mitch has to say.
Yeah, exactly. Let's bring in Mitch Hoke here from Trade the Pool. We'll get his thoughts on what is moving around so far here this morning. Good to see you as always, Mitch. So much to talk about. I want to start macro first, talk big picture first. We get the Fed coming up tomorrow. A lot of people now, I mean, pointing at June, maybe. Goldman comes out yesterday and says we're still going to get 3 cuts by the end of the year. Meanwhile, here goes the yields back to the upside a little bit, putting pressure on everything right across the board. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think this is the classic game that the Fed likes to play. I mean, at the end of the day, they're always on the extreme side, and everyone always says they're late to the ball. And I think that's exactly what will happen here, guys, that they're not going to cut until they need to cut, right? Of course, there's still concerns about the tariffs, and we don't know what's really going to happen here with a 90-day pause. And I think that that's what people need to remember, right? It's just a pause. It doesn't mean that it can't come back on, right? And one of the things that you heard from Trump yesterday was getting back to the tough stance. And I think that he wanted to do that to have a little bit more power in the deal making. He started saying yesterday that he needs the right deals, right? The deals that are going to benefit the U.S. And I think that those are the types of things that we need to focus on. And the pressure is now being put on different countries. Who wants to be the first one to make a deal? I think India is definitely the one that we're kind of leaning towards. We got more information about that last week. And a big part that gave me the insight was just Apple. Listen to the big companies. What they're talking about, they're giving you insight. Just like NVIDIA is giving you insight that they're getting pressures about their AI chip, right, in China. They're giving you the insights inside of these companies. And there's a big reason why Apple is looking to shift more iPhones to India.
All right, let's jump into a few things moving around here this morning. Everybody obviously eyeing Palantir. Downside to the tune of about 8.5% right now. I mean, Danny Ives comes out and says this is going to be the next $1 trillion company in tech land. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, Palantir is one of those that just has the retail favorite behind it, right? And I think that this is one that I jumped on down when it was $30, but did I expect it was going to get past 100? No, by no means necessary. I think there definitely is a kind of blown out valuation here, but we all know at the end of the day, that's where investors also go. There's this one thing that I think sometimes gets forgotten, right? Yes, the PE forward outlook is high, but if you're looking for a stock that has growth, that has the investor's interest, well, you also got to look for a high PE value. And I think that those are sometimes the best trades. Some traders run away from it because they know that the valuation doesn't make sense. But this stock is not running on valuation. It's running on technicals and story. The story behind, of course, AI and defense. And what do you hear more and more mentions? The CEO making those type of hype comments. And he also went after the analysts recently in a magazine stating that he would hope that a drone with fentanyl-laced outlook would be kind of attacking these analysts. And I mean, hey, the CEO is wild, and we all know how this market loves wild CEOs. That's how Elon Musk created his name in the first place, right? It wasn't necessarily everyone was loving him when he was creating SpaceX. It was all his rhetoric that he would come out with, the talk, right? You need a CEO like this behind a company that has the hype, and Palantir has the hype. It can keep going, guys. It's like NVIDIA. I thought it would never get to the levels it could get to. But that doesn't mean that it has to stop here.
I mean, it's all about the hair, too, I think, for the CEO. Like that's
the hair indicator, right?
Yeah, the hair indicator is the key there. Where else do you want to go here? I was just keeping my eye on Google. I just had a note in my ear. Downside here. I mean, session lows right now for Google, 1.4%. There's this DOJ note this morning. Sharif and I were just
DOJ concern. That's just the biggest thing with Google. I think that you got to watch to see what happens with that, and that's holding Google back. I think the strong Mag 7 names right now, of course, are Microsoft and Meta. Those are the two that continue to lift the markets right now. I'll continue to see them lift the markets here. Another thing that, of course, Meta has is that robotics outlook. So keep watching that to hear more and more talk of robotics. They're hiring and hiring more for jobs, and even Apple with their secret robotics project still holding things down and actually pushing the gas pedal on that. So I'd look to hear more conversation on that. But I'd like to drive things also to stocks that are strong right now with themes like Uber, near all-time high, announcing more strategic partnerships with Pony AI, robo-taxis. We've all heard more and more mentions with Uber and autonomous. And yesterday, even before that, we were hearing more mentions about the strategic partnership with AUR, Aurora Innovation, a name that I brought here before Trump even got elected. Guys, we talked about this, that autonomous driving would have 3 major names that I was talking about. I was talking about it would be Mobileye, AUR, and Tesla that would leave in the technologies behind autonomous driving. And there's not just going to be one winner. That's where I think people get it twisted. They just think Tesla's going to win. Tesla will be a leader, and a lot of companies will be calling Tesla for that software. But the truth is, there's other players that will be here, like Waymo and other players that will continue to push and get out more autonomous. And this is all about Trump. How does Trump want to get this out, and how fast does he want to get this out? And then that's what you need to be looking for. Another stock near highs that you guys can look in an area is like BJ's, Costco's, and Walmart. Those names seem to keep killing it. And I'd add one more to the name, Cart, Maple Bear. It's doing really well because at the end of the day, as groceries get more expensive, as convenience is more and more, hey guys, we all want our groceries delivered to our house. Yep. And guess what? Those groceries are going to continue to cost more with these tariffs. They ain't going away, guys. No. I know you guys are probably like me and don't want to go to the grocery store and spend an hour anymore. We just go on our phone late at night.
Yeah, I know. Sharif and I talk about it all the time. That's how I shop at Costco is literally through Cart. It's you get to a point where it's like, man, it's crazy not to.
I have Costco. I go to Publix that way. I mean, anything you can get delivered right to your house. So I like the Instacart. I like that Maple Bear chart. It's definitely a chart to keep on the radar, guys.
Great stuff. What else are you looking at here, Mitch, today on a busy Tuesday?
There's a ton of inverse head and shoulders patterns out there, guys. We can run through some of these. Affirm, ARM, one that reported today, Bros, is taking a little bit of a hit, but I definitely want to keep an eye out on that. And then you got IBKR as another one that has an inverse head and shoulders. All these very similar patterns that are coming from that major dip that we got, of course, in April. And we need to start seeing if they get above the neckline. Now, the one thing I will say is the inverse head and shoulders pattern and head and shoulders pattern overall is a hard one to draw because a lot of people battle on where to draw the neckline. A lot of people can see the left shoulder and the right shoulder and the head, but can you draw a simple neckline? And then interesting setups, there's DocU, KLAC, Archer as one of the growth stocks in space that's out there really moving. And then CrowdStrike and DataDog, Zscaler. It looks like cybersecurity stocks are on the watch for hot moves. I'd watch that as a space that could see continued talk about how AI is helping these companies. So Datadog, CrowdStrike, Zscaler, some names definitely to watch. And then, of course, I always watch the small stocks out there, guys. I was able to nail GPUS yesterday. Going to be taking a look at KTTA today and GLMD in the small caps. Of course, it's one of the great things about Trade the Pool. I can go shorting these names even in the pre-market. If I feel that I can get after them and make some cash, there's nothing wrong with these names. And hey, there's one thing for certain. If you want some buying power, you need some capital. That's what we got for you guys. And we're working on a little announcement coming soon, guys, on the swing trade accounts. So if you guys are swing traders out there, check us out. Trade the Pool.
Just a tease as well, Mitch. I don't even know if you know this or not, but rumor has it you guys might be visiting Toronto coming up here in the next month or two.
So. Yeah, man. Hey, Neil, make some space at that desk. Money Mitch is coming through.
We'll look forward to it. Mitch Hoke over at Trade the Pool. Good to see you.
Let's do it.
Oh, you got it, Mitch. You got it. You got it. We'll hook you up. Hopefully it happens. I know we love to tease these things, but I'm definitely going to welcome you in there for sure. And we appreciate all the insights that you come up with. And you said one thing and Mitch said one thing that certainly was, I think, really prescient and important. When talking about like drawing certain patterns, one of the reasons we like to talk about confluence is, you look at bro's got a head and shoulder pattern. So what can you confluence that to get some kind of a break? There's a lot of ways you can go about it. Okay, well, you can say we've got a head. You could got reverse head and shoulders. Where do you want to put the neckline? Did it try to break already? Did it not? Well, one of the things I like to look for is what else do I have going? I have the 50 period. You can look for a close above the 50 period, but you also have a trend from the 52-week high that did get broken and then retested the trend line and held. So that kind of gives me a wall. Like, it's okay, as long as it holds above that prior trend line, that's good. And the top that it made, that's going to be where I think it needs to break out. You can put it down to where close prices matter a little bit more, but I think confluence matters. Like, it's not easy to draw patterns. I'm not necessarily the big and expert on them. I like trend lines a little bit more. So you just try to figure something else that'll work with you in concert. And I think it's a great point. There's a lot, and there are a lot of symbols. One of the other ones you mentioned is, before we quickly go on, and we have the watch list to get through, so make sure you check out our free watch list so you can follow along. It's a busy one today, very, very busy one, so you're going to want to have that with you. But Affirm is another with that reverse head and shoulders. This one, I think it's a little bit easier to see, because I think we talked about this last week. Affirm, if it gets through 55, is pure squeeze potential. Some concerns about the consumer and all that, but at the end of the day, sometimes those concerns mean they use more buy now and pay later. But there's going to be a wath of analysts making some decisions every earnings season, and there's going to be a bunch of them probably changing their price targets in either direction on Palantir. Let's see what else we have with the Dara.
Here, and a lot of these, oddly enough, are actually prior to the earnings report. We have CN here with an upgrade from Susquehanna, Play Studios getting upgraded by the benchmark company, and then we have BMO Capital Markets upgrading Shopify, which actually looks like it's red right now, if I'm reading that correctly. Shopify, they report earnings later this week, so keep an eye on this one. Veralto getting an upgrade here from North Coast. On the downgrade side of things, Coinbase and Mara both set to report later this week in the crypto space, getting some downgrades. Coinbase from Ines Crespi and Hart, and Mara here from Compass Point. Then we have McDonald's, which reported last week. They're getting a downgrade here from North Coast. Last but not least, DZ Bank downgrading Chevron, which is actually green on the session. So pretty mixed list today, guys.
Interesting thing about that list, it was literally maybe a minute or two before we saw that list. Phil Switzer, Mara breakdown, question mark. Well, if you know what I think about Mara and Bitcoin miners in general, if we show weakness, and we're under 95,000 again, we couldn't really break away from it. There were good longs and IBIT in the afternoon, but it was still a gap down situation, and we didn't hold the 95,000. Well, the 50 period got taken out briefly, and we actually closed right at it on Mara, and now you're opening underneath. That does look like a follow through short. You can't short off 15 anymore because that's come and gone. There's a range bound top where you're now breaking the range bottom, and there's a little bit of a gap underneath. Now, whenever I see something like this, it's not a simple, I want to be short here. No, it needs to break through this prior low and get you into the next territory down to $12. Otherwise, you're patient. I'd be patiently waiting for it to retest 1340, something like that. Like, it's breaking down underneath, or you're waiting for it to retest that high for a continuation play, and always be watching out for Bitcoin. I don't care too much about the downgrade that they had. It's more the technical loss of the 50 period here from Mara.
Yeah, out of that list, one of them that caught my eye was McDonald's here. So, McDonald's recently had earnings and now coming out with a bit of a downgrade. We sold off on that initial reaction on earnings last Thursday with a little bit of a pop that could not break that reaction, some of those reaction highs. Failed to follow through, and we got that day two flush as well. Bit of a reversion coming in yesterday, the beginning of the week. Bids right back up into some of those day one levels. Now we're gapping down again with the market tailwind as well. A little bit of a downside move. I'm curious to know, does this downgrade bring us any sort of significance to take out that earnings reaction low that's sitting here at 309.50. So yeah, we'll see if McDonald's can kind of come in and crack that low. Prior day's low coming in at 310s as well, only about 3 points away, trading currently at 313.60. Another name on that list was Spotify as well. Spotify on the upgrade list. Now this one has been on my watch list a little bit as well. We've been trending up for I guess a decent chunk of last month, and we're getting that continuation this month as well, but higher time frame. Again, going back up to a 3-hour, you can see that we might be in for a little bit of resistance. We're pulling back off of that 650 mark. I'm pretty sure these are all-time highs on Spotify. So yeah, kind of curling back up into all-time highs. We were seeing that with one other name that comes right away to the top of my list is Netflix. Netflix kind of pushing its all-time highs as well. Very, very strong. So some of these names definitely on watch. So yeah, Spotify could be interesting for that continuation if it can get above that. A little bit of a double top action happening there. Maybe the upgrade was all we needed. I don't know, but we'll be watching closely for that one to see if there's continuation there.
All right, let's get into everything we need to know here to kick things off on a Tuesday morning. Sharif's going to have a look at the market.
56.72, guys. That's where we closed out yesterday on the ES June contract. We're below that right now by about 50 points, 56.25, with the overnight low still being above that 5,600 area. So here's the deal. We're going to use this area as support, 55.50. That's where we've been kind of consolidating at from around April 25th to the breakout there on April 30th. So if we continue to sell off, we lose 5,600, we're looking at 55.50. If we hold 5,600, we're going to look to the overnight high, 56.73 as resistance.
If you haven't done so yet, make sure you jump down to the description of this video. Top link in the description will get you to that page. And then all you need is your email address, and you can get the absolutely free watch list. Comes right to your inbox every morning with everything you need to know in the pre-market on it. 8.42% currently here. We're back to the downside short term anyway for Palantir. I mentioned this with Mitch. This was Danny Ives over at Wedbush predicting 1 trillion. Palantir going to be the next trillion club on the market cap side.
In 3 years, that's aggressive, Brendo. Well, you know, they did well. Obviously, it sold off. Maybe the earnings whispers were a little bit higher or higher than the actual results. Let's talk about how they did. EPS, earnings per share, they did quite well, 13 pennies there, no problem. Revenue of $884 million on the quarter. That beat the 863 estimate, so not a bad look there. Total revenue up 39%. Their take-home money, that net income, $214 million. That's up from 105, so fantastic look there. And this is what really got my attention. Commercial revenue, Brendo, up 71% year over year. That's what you want to focus on. It can't just all be government contracts, but despite that, government contracts were also up 45%. They did raised, their full year revenue guidance up to 3.89 to 3.9. The street was looking for something 3.74 to 3.76, so an easy beat there. Let's talk about the deals that they closed, though. So if I can kind of make it like that, there you go. 139 deals over $1 million, Brendo. That's in Q4. 51 of those deals over $5 million. 31 of those deals over 10 million. So you like the look of this. It's on the right way. It's trending higher highs and higher lows.
What was it? Do you have a year-over-year number on the total deals?
Total deals? I do not.
139 total deals. Well, we'll look it up. I mean, it's really interesting.
That's just Q4, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, numbers really impressive here, but downside this morning, guys.
So a little bit of a lackluster reaction on something that is reporting such amazing numbers.
It's a tough go because, yeah, the numbers are amazing, but then the valuation is what gets everybody in a kerfuffle. Because that's how it works. It happened. Tesla was like that before Tesla. Amazon was like that. Like there were so many people that were like, you can't buy Amazon. It's too expensive, and it was you can't buy Tesla. And Palantir is getting a little bit of that treatment. So you can't say it's surprising when it sold off, especially like when we saw this in the aftermarket show, like once it topped at 130, like, okay, well, is it going to be able to hold that 120? It's 125. And the second there were sellers under 125, it was basically over for it. Like that was it. Like, there was nothing else you could do. But today, it's hard to have a hammer candle like that and be incredibly bullish. So that's just how it is. I'm looking at the first look for me, as long as it's under 117, and I want to look for the continuation short. it would make sense that even a muted move can get you down 10% today, and then you start looking for like that SSR reversion. The first level would be at about 107.5 for that, or just every even dollar once it's 10% down, which is like 111.33 or something around that math. But the first play is if it pops back, I'm zoom way too far out, the 117 is the first place I'm going to look. There's some confluence with some prior support in there. That's where I will look for any trend reversion underneath that price. So I'm looking short today in Palantir unless it goes down over 10%, at which point I look for a mean reversion long. But that setup, the mean reversion long, typically you get that play within the first couple of hours or you don't get it.
Yeah, no, I think Palantir #1 on my watch list as well. Again, talking to the pod about this last night. That 130 kind of, I was watching a little bit there. Didn't quite catch the lick grab of that 130, but I did watch the selling that brought us all the way back into the teens on the report overnight. This is a 3-hour chart. These were all-time highs at that 125 mark all the way in the middle of February. You can see that we pretty much grabbed that and then pulled it all the way back down, breaking this recent trend we've been having since about the beginning of April as well. So we're going to keep that one on watch. And again, I want to keep in mind something Neil said earlier about having other factors alongside these technical patterns, like the trend break, like a bit of consolidation holds, breakdowns, what have you. You want to have that confluence so that the trade can be more powerful, and the more powerful the trade, the more confluence the trade, then you can have a lot more power in that trade. That trade becomes so much more powerful. So always want to be looking for that confluence of factors there, and definitely a lot of confluence of factors stacking here on Palantir. False break of all-time highs, breaking the recent trend that's been on the weekly. Earnings volume as well, relative volume as well. Look at that flat bottom coming in at 112. More recent lows sitting here at 108s, 109s. So I think if we get start getting strong factors of confluence off the open, that can definitely give us some strong signals and maybe a powerful trade as well. So that's what I'm looking for here on Palantir. We've got some key levels that have been defined. Oh yeah, I want to throw up that anchored VWAP as well, of course. Shout out to Brian Shannon there. You can see that anchored VWAP currently sitting at that just shy of that 116 level as well. And yeah, that high sitting at that 118. So yeah, I think I want to see what happens when price gets to some of these levels off of the open. Maybe we get an aggressive push off of the open, and maybe I miss the selling. And you're right. I'm probably going to be looking for a potential reversion as well if we continue to sell right off of the open. But yeah, lots of opportunity on hand, a lot of opportunity potential on hand with Palantir today. So #1 on the watch.
Yeah, before we go back to the desk here, there's a little collaboration between Webull and Visa that has Webull up 8% and running. So remember Webull of the $70+ squeeze fame, and then the heavy pull back in there. Is it a bit of a bounce, like dead cat bounce play a couple of days ago, actually on Friday? So it's coming from a decent spot. If it gets through, it's about 1680-ish, yesterday's top. Ignore the dark pool wick in there, more like 1670. So that's a big level for Webull, about halfway there right now. And so Visa partnership has them on the move. Lots of runners here. There's a lot to look at. Unfortunately, not all of them are going up like Webull. Staring at you, Tesla just broke 274 and made another new low.
Just reading through this note here, it looks like it's for money transfers. So Webull users based in the United States can quickly transfer money between their Webull brokerage account and external bank accounts. So as you mentioned, Webull teaming up there with Visa for money transfers to and from the platform. Let's go on to Tesla. Just made a new low here. 2.25% here for Tesla on top of what happened yesterday. Just a wild, wild day yesterday. We get all the way back to 283. It's trading $10, better part of $10 lower right now. A whole bunch of sales coming out of Europe once again to the downside.
Yeah, not a good look here. So we had two different data points, Germany and England. I'll cover England here, Brendo. So they sold 536 cars in England. Compare that to this time last year when they sold 1,404. So a 62%, guys, year-over-year decline. Let's throw that on there. In sales, that's the lowest UK monthly sales in over 2 years. Just to give you some comparison over here. So overall UK battery EV sales did increase 7% year-over-year. Well, the Volkswagen taking the cake here, Brendo, up 194%. Volkswagen doing quite well in England, selling about 2,300 cars. And here's what caught my attention. The English are apparently choosing BYD over Tesla. BYD EV sales up 311% in the quarter, selling 1,419 units. Good look there. Deliveries for the Model Y, which could kind of move the needle. The revamped Model Y, codenamed Juniper, set to begin in June of this summer. Expected to reveal the impact on sales by midsummer, so we won't have that number super quick yet. And as I mentioned, top of the show, the UK had been a bright spot for Tesla. In Europe, no longer the case.
Yeah. If you go to a daily time frame, meanwhile, we're still nicely sitting here at the top end of the range. $300 is going to be a challenge. $300 up here. It's been up here a couple of times and stalled out, but still well off those 220 lows right now.
It's just like when you have now compiling bad news in terms of slowing sales, and I get it, Europe's not a huge deal for them, but you still want to be expanding where you can. Until they get that cheaper, smaller model, you're not going to see the inroads in Europe like you're going to want. That being said, today seems like the day that Tesla might lose the only bid that it's had up here. Clearly, the 200 period has been, it's like the cooties. They just can't seem to, it's like you can't just seem to get past it. It's a sell every single time it gets into the 90 to 90 and a half range. What are you going to do? It's repelled that level. I think today on any bounce, you look to short underneath that. I don't see a bounce getting you anywhere near the 90s. So unless we break down under 270, you're looking at about like the mid 80s would be the spot to look for a reversion, kind of where it flushed yesterday. So like it's almost every single bounce off the 70s has eventually gotten you 290 or above. It feels like today that's just not going to be the case. But unless you break 70, you're not really looking for a continuation short. I think you're patiently waiting for a test of something a little bit higher. But I'm looking short inside of this range. There's just no question about it. Like, it doesn't look like a long to me, not even down here.
I think that's very fair. I mean, I've been here pretty much every day. Tesla has gotten up here in the 290s, and almost every time it's up there, a little bit of supply, a little bit of supply, a lot of supply, and kind of bringing us back into these lows here, more recent lows, 271. But Neil, take a look at this. We're in an even bigger range as well. Yeah, this is a range from 290s to 270s, but we've also been in a range from 290s to 210s as well, all the way from March of earlier this year. So the range is a little bit wider. We've been in a smaller range as well, but yeah, the breakdown of this range definitely opens up the doors to kind of fulfilling price back into this range as well. So yeah, maybe continuation short, but I definitely agree on Neil. Below 270s, maybe that's what I'll be looking for, unless and until that happens. There's buyers at 270s until there aren't, and I think that market tailwind will definitely be dependent on whether or not Tesla will break some of these levels or not. But yeah, that's definitely something that I'm watching today. If Tesla gets below 270s, then definitely I will be looking for sellers to show themselves and to get involved with them as well.
Added the S. HIMS, plural, downside, 7.6% here. Trying to get back to day lows as well. 39 gets rejected there. Just keeping an eye on this right now. I mean, the guidance below estimates, really, I mean, it's 7%, but it doesn't actually look like that big of a move if you zoom out on that chart. Yesterday had a wide range going into earnings as well.
Oh, yeah. This is quite a volatile name. Yeah. We've been trading this sometimes on the midday show as a small cap capper. Let's talk about how they did, guys. EPS, they beat there, 20 pennies ahead of the 12 the street was looking for. Revenue also came in higher than expectations, $586 million of revenue on the quarter. The street was looking for 538. Revenue year-over-year growth, guys, a nice look here. 111% year-over-year growth. So the 586 in revenue, compare that to last year. This time they printed 278. So a beat there. Their take-home money, their net income about $50 million versus the $11 million they printed last year, and their adjusted EBITDA also beating expectations. But this is kind of where it all falls apart, as Brendo mentioned. The Q2 2025 guidance, very weak. 530 to 550. That's a range which misses the estimates altogether. 564.6 was what the street was looking for, and their adjusted EBITDA forecast forecast, just meeting the midpoint there. The new COO, Nader Kabani, who's an ex-Amazon employee, he also launched Amazon Pharmacy, PillPack, and led COVID-19 task force. He's talking about kind of looking at new products. The CEO also teased future collaborations across pharma, diagnostics, and preventative testing. So looking to be just more than, a GLP-1 source, Brendo, hims and hers.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out today. Here's another one flying right now. 40% for AREB. New deal with North Florida Sales, distribution agreement just announced here for AREB, American Rebel, guys.
Just bringing you names like American Rebel moving out of nowhere, also doing real-time fixes to the rundown, which I'm going to prove, because it twisted me up a quick second, because I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And then I go over, and it's like, you can fast forward, and then all of a sudden, boom, right when it gets on camera, you change it and get that in there. Don't think we wouldn't notice. By the way, the other thing I noticed when I was doing this is we have 6,200 watching. Check that, 6,300 almost, but only 516 likes. So I'll tell you, Hims has a better chance of breaking out if you guys hit that like, and especially hit the subscribe as well. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, pump the algo, get everybody into our community so we can all grow and get better, become better traders, make sure that we're all helping the community grow. It's hard enough trading at home. That's why we're here for you guys. And I'll tell you, I want Hims to break 43 so bad. I saw someone say Hims is the next big breakout play. It's over 30% short float.
Oh boy. And
someone's selling the you-know-what out of the 43 level. At least that's what we can glean. We saw it in the aftermarket show last night. There was an attempted break. It was just the second, I'm talking about the second it got over $43, it was insta-sell. And then the selling just came in en masse. And even when it bounced late, it couldn't get back in there. All that being said, I don't know if we get a chance at the 43 today. It doesn't seem like it's got the juice. If we do get there in the next couple of days, I think that's a breakout area for sure. But you're down 8%, unfortunately. I saw someone in the chat saying 39 starting to look good. It's consolidating down here, but I like the SSR bounce play if it gets down 10%, and I go right back into, I love prior closes. I think that takes you into 36. Unfortunately, the first look, if they're selling up top, I want to join selling, similar to how I feel about Palantir. Before it gets to 43, I think I'd probably be shorting at 41 level. And then waiting for it to get down into this 36 area, this close here, going back to the first of the month. That'd be the spot to look for a gap fill. The more obvious level, if it's completely disaster, the more obvious level is way down there at 32. I feel like I will want at least 2 shots if it goes that far, but the first wouldn't be till 36.
Yeah, I think that this is one of the times where I'm going to weigh a prior anchored a little bit more than the earnings anchored itself, because technically this had some strong news, and you can see that confirmed with the volume candles here on last Tuesday with that with the catalyst. I forget off the top of my head what the catalyst was, but I don't really necessarily need to know because the volume again is speaking for itself right there. So anchored off of that event, which clearly has a lot more volume that came in, more than the earnings reaction. We'll have to see off of the open whether or not this volume will get I guess. We'll trade above this kind of volume, but right there you can see that level coming in right here at 37. So I'm gonna be curious to know if we do catch a bid at that 37. This is technically still trending up off of this catalyst event because we have been making higher highs and higher lows since then, with a little bit of a double bottom here at 32. So Hims with that 30% short float, maybe poised for a bit of a bid, but selling off on earnings. 37 is the level that I'm watching here. Maybe a little bit of support. Potential there, resistance turn support, right? We saw that support kind of come in there on Thursday, maybe Friday catching a little bit of a bid here, maybe the earnings reaction giving us a peak, as well as that strong flush bids right back up into 42s. We're kind of bleeding right back in into some of those reaction lows right at 38. So 38, 37 is going to be interesting on Hims today. Earnings day one. Let's see if some of that morning volume that comes in off of the open gives us some opportunity, maybe a trend break of that pre-market trend. Who knows?
That could be in play. DataDog.
All right, DataDog here. Just a quick note on Microsoft. A couple of new AI modeled laptops coming out, apparently, just launched from Microsoft. Capable of running AI models without using the internet. So next gen Copilot plus PCs, 2 new models coming out today. Microsoft didn't do anything on that, but anyway. Let's go on to DDOG, that AREB still flying around as well. This one, the initial move was nicely positive, gets back below 105 here. We're kind of chopping around, basically flat. I mean, it is positive, but basically flat after all said and done.
Yeah, a decent report here. There wasn't much wrong with this one, Brenda. Let's talk about it. Revenue, $762 million, up about 25% year over year. That easily beats what they printed last year and what the street was looking for. They beat their revenue by about $20.5 million there. Non-GAAP EPS also beating by about 4 pennies. Operating cash flow around $203 million. Free cash flow about $250 million, with about $4.4 billion in cash reserves. This is where they kind of missed their operating margins over here. They did drop about 2%. That was a miss, but their non-GAAP operating margin was 22%. Not a bad look. Now, with respect to their guide revenue, they're guiding a range of 787 to 791 million. That's an easy beat. The street was looking for 770. Their EPS, or non-GAAP EPS, also kind of in line with expectations, guiding 40 to 42 pennies. The street was looking for 41. And with respect to their full year 2025 guidance, beating there as well, Brino, 3.21 billion to 3.23. The street was just looking for 3.2.
Much better than the overall market, obviously, at this point. So relative strength to rely on possibly here for DataDog.
Yeah, it felt like it would be a little stronger, quite frankly. You know, it's only, the market's down 1 and it's up, was up 1 a minute ago. No, it's not anymore, certainly, but yeah, it felt like it would be a little bit stronger than the reaction that we're getting, especially when you consider like a couple of things here. Like you'd go, here, I can go like that trend broke and look at the turn when it broke that trend, and then you go with this other slope. Like both of those end up breaking out, holding the 50 period. I thought, yeah, this should have room to run on a good report, but like everything else, it got sold off. What I wrote down on my iPad, which is probably why I don't know if I look at this one early, volume is a bit of a concern here. It doesn't do very good pre-market volume, so you want to make sure it's opening up and showing you the liquidity that you want. I want to see it above last week's high. And if it can't get above last week's high, then I don't want to try it. The market looks a little bit weak today. I also like the 100 level. Like the support's so far down in here that I don't know if I want to touch it unless it's way down in support, in which case I'm pretty sure if we get all the way down there, I'll have taken some shots at a reversion on Palantir, almost 100%. So DataDog, it needs to get above 109 to get me a little bit more excited. I think it was a good report, and I'm surprised it's not showing more strength, but sometimes the market just does that to you, and you get dragged down a little bit here. And I think that's what's occurring here in DataDog. For the long term, I said, it's a good report, so I would suspect if it settles down, give it the old 3-day rule and holds a 50-period moving average, you've got something to work off of here for DDOG.
Yeah, I think definitely not one of my top names on the list, but one I'm definitely watching as well. Again, earnings day one, doing some decent relative volume, got over 30 times, over 50 times on the initial push, but currently doing about 30 to 40 times relative volume here on the 5 period. I'm looking at a 3-minute chart here currently, and this is the anchored VWAP right there. So again, don't really have any crazy meticulous plans around DataDog, but I will be watching it in and around that anchored VWAP because so far it has been kind of rejecting that a little bit there. Session VWAP in and around there as well. Again, pre-market earnings reports will give you a little bit of confluence with that anchored plus maybe intraday VWAP as well. Coming in roughly in and around the same area, just shy of that 107 mark. Currently trading at 106 halves. But yeah, let's see if we can get back down, or let's see if VWAP or the anchored holds as a little bit of resistance. But we've basically chopped sideways, right? It was a shake and bake on the reaction right there. A little bit up, a little bit down, coming in real flat. Look how flat yesterday was. We're trading right within that range, that really tight range on DataDog from yesterday. We're poised to open in and around that area right now. So going to be interesting how it opens, but maybe not the first one on my list. A little bit of shake and bake.
Every time from now on, every single no, actually, wait a minute. Not every time, almost every single time dude says shake and bake, I'm going to do one of these. I just realized if I say every single time, then I know what Obi's going to do, and then because I've said it, then I have to start doing this nonsense shake every single time. But shake and bake.
Get me in your trades just like.
That's the worst. Yeah, you sitting there like trying to like shake on the keyboard. It's like, what am I doing to myself? No, but let's go. Yesterday it was a root. everyone wanted to talk about in the space today. Lemonade beats on earnings. That cool, refreshing drink.
No, close, but no. Back to back to 11% right now for Lemonade. We just broke out of that last little pivot there. On decent volume as well, trying to get back upside. Not a lot of liquidity, however, it looks a little thin at this point. But yeah, better than expected results right across the board. I mean, I don't know. Do you like lemonade? I'm not a huge.
It's okay. I don't remember the last time I've had it.
Same.
I'm not averse to it though, Brendo. So I'll have it.
Anyway.
A lot of sugar usually.
Yeah. True.
All right, guys. They beat on the top and bottom line, but they're still losing money. So let's talk about it. So a quarterly loss of around 86 pennies. We're talking about EPS here, but that beat the estimates of 92 pennies. So 92 penny loss, mind you, which is a beat by about 6.5%. There's also a 28.36% decrease over the losses of 67 pennies on the year. Now they're guiding. The company reported quarterly sales of 151.2 million, which beat the estimates of 145.21 by about 4%. It's about a 27% increase over the sales of last year, Brendo, where they printed about $119.1 million. Not a bad look for Lemonade.
There was a time, it was probably COVID era, where this thing was just wild, volatile, and crazy volume. Not the case anymore. The liquidity dried up a long time ago, but not doing a heck of a lot here. We are up nicely, though.
At least Christopher Mullen got the Eddie Murphy delirious reference. Thank you, Chris, in the chat. We were literally talking about Eddie Murphy like yesterday, and delirious literally yesterday. I know Sean would have got that one. Look, Lemonade. Regardless of what you think about this, think about the company, somebody was a seller at 30 and now it's broken, and now it's broken the 50 period as well. Volume does stink, unfortunately, or it's more like maybe it's a continuation type play. I think for this one, it has a decent chance to squeeze. We talked about Root yesterday, and Rooted looked pretty good as well. But without any real volume here, you need to see it open up. But as long as it's above the gap, and above the 50-period moving average, I feel like there's some shorts that might be a little bit trapped there. We did have summer imbalances did just pop in. The only one of note so far is it was 200,000 to sell on Palantir. Now it's only about 170,000. SMCI, a slight buy at 167,000. And I thought, yeah, I mean, the only Mag 7 name in there, as you can see, like Microsoft at 100K. So not a heck of a lot, but that didn't mean things didn't move just now. AMD's been trending down all morning. NVIDIA just broke the low and is heading even lower. Specifically, NVIDIA, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, 115. We feel the same way as I did yesterday. Maybe the short needs to be a little bit more, what's the word I want to use? Like, let it not have to get to 115 to short it. How about that? Because I think a lot of times you get a level like this on NVIDIA, or any stock, right? Like the 115 is such an obvious resistance level that the sellers are coming in a little bit early. So I think waiting for 115 is just a little bit too patient, but I am still looking for that fade. I did like, Randy, thank you so much for.
I'm okay. Still got mine right.
Yeah, it's all about the refill. Got to have the fresh one, move the Yeti on over. AMD is holding the 50-period moving average, so this is simple. If it holds 98, then I think it's good to go. If it loses 98, you've got a gap underneath. But we talked about Apple at least. The other name that's near the top of the list after Palantir is Apple. Apple, like, look at this slow trend up and look how quickly it is lost the first support yesterday, losing second support today. Shorts back into the 200 to 201 area. That's another one on the note. Not feeling awfully bullish here today. Maybe some mean reversion longs out there, but everything else pretty bearish here, Obi.
Yeah, I think, again, I'm going to wait to see what some of the volume comes, how the volume comes in off of the open. But yeah, no, when life gives you a double beat, maybe you squeeze some lemonade to the upside here. 33.29 is currently breaking out of this $30 consolidation level. We can see that kind of maybe a flag, whatever you want to call it. A bit of a held offer here at 30 halves-ish. $30 level you can see from about, when is that? Is that 30 halves or 30? So no, it's around 30, let's call it that. Whatever the price is. You can see that there's a bit of a level hold here in that area over and over again for a decent chunk of April. They're finally breaking out on earnings. So let's see if we get that continuation off of the open. But in the pre-market session, not really doing too much crazy volume. I call this a little bit of a crumble. So yeah, there's definitely some crumbles in the lemonade there. So I'm going to stay a little bit wary of that one. I'm kind of hesitant to even throw up an anchored here because of the lack of volume, but it is what it is. Let's see if that can potentially come in here. But yeah, let's see. After some volume gets into the ticker, maybe it could give us some more sweetness there. But I'm again watching Palantir, I'm watching Tesla, I'm watching Apple, some bigger picture stuff here as well off of the open. Let's see if those give us any opportunities, and good luck to everybody trading today. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be here until 4:30 p.m., right?
That's the plan. And Roger, we did talk a little bit about BTC, but I think I worked it into a conversation about Mara. We'll definitely get to that for sure. 95,000 minute prop. But let's get to the bell here. Ring it in 2 and 1. The post-earnings Palantir party begins now, more or less. Well, the shake and bake party as well. First move for Palantir ends up being down. I'm still looking at Apple. Apple's actually trying to bounce in here, but first move on Palantir, heading, right into the downside. Look, it's great. It's already SSR, so the first move is to the downside. I guess we do wait for that. It was like 107 would be that spot where you could get some kind of a mean reversion. But yeah, first move down. Tesla also fading very, very heavily. It's HIMS that's headed to the upside right now. HIMS powering through 39. 41 was a level I was looking for a potential short trade on HIMS. So going to have to be patient. I thought we'd be pop and fade. No, there is no pop on Palantir. Down to 110 already testing. And Tesla also breaking lower Obi. That 270, we're here pretty much right now. 271 just ticking in. So an instant flush in a couple of names. The market, slight move down. Nasdaq 1.3. But it's Palantir and Tesla dropping the most heavily.
Yeah, that again, this action is absolutely crazy. We're wiping up and down 20, 30 pennies at a time. So I'm watching that. 110 halves currently holding pretty well. 110.35 is the day low. There comes a bid. Let's see if we can get back above 112. That was a little strong there. And where is VWAP, you may ask? VWAP coming in right here at 113.33, so not too far away from that one as well. So coming back 33. Into the 113.33. Yeah, coming right back up in 112s potentially coming in. So yeah, there was a pretty decent bounce off of that 110 half hold. Let's see if we get some continuation there. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes there. I kind of hesitated. Wow, there goes Apple back into maybe 199, 200 territory. There's 112 on Palantir. So we're getting that bid. Opening price is 112.71, Neil. Can we get past that opening price? That might be a trade in itself. But again, I'm going to stay patient for the first 15 minutes or so, maybe first 5 minutes. Again, something has to be so strong that it pulls me into the trade and is like, okay, well, are you going to be participating here? I might have missed that on that 110 half hold. Bit of a shake and bake there, but coming back into the opening range highs there. Let's see what the futures are doing. Futures maybe a little bit of a bid up coming into the open. Yeah, a little bit of a bid, but Palantir. Beautiful short off of the open that came in all the way to the lows of 110.35 is now coming back into
HIMS right now. Obi, HIMS wants green right now, and it wants it in a bad way. So it just got to $40. Remember, 43 monster level on HIMS. So unless we get back, like, it's got to hold above the 41 level. That's the first place that I wanted to look for the fade play. Apple's going to come in first, I feel like. Looking down, Palantir did not give that 110 kind of under-over breakdown play. You had to take, I think, like a 111 long if you wanted that Palantir. But I think we're going to get Apple into this 200 level almost any second. I just tagged 199.50 and a decent chance to go even higher than that. I want to see a nice little lower high on Palantir. That'd be a good spot. As well as try to fade in. VWAP I had at 113, close to 114.
I tried to punch in much higher,
for VWAP.
And now I got in much less because I'm like, I tried to punch those 113 quarters there, and it did not accept me for some reason. Again, it's SSR, so it's not going to be the easiest, but I love my Frex gate. Frex will literally get you in sometimes in the most stickiest of situations. A little bit of a sandwich there at 112s. Let's see if we can come back down. Some selling coming in. I don't have everything that I wanted to. I have about a third of what I initially intended of getting on the short, but we got sellers stepping in at VWAP. Let's see if that day low can get taken out. What's up, Adara?
Keep an eye here on TTWO. There's not a lot of volume on this. I do want to preface it with that, but it is on watch here. Rockstar releasing the second trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6 just a couple days after delaying its release to May of next year. So again, TTWO on watch after this GTA, the second GTA trailer, is released. Back to you.
Cancel.
Yeah, I posted the offer and it just canceled a couple of times. I was like, what is going on? I posted it. And it's so that makes no sense, right? And then the Frex gets me in. What?
Frex for the win.
Frex for life.
I did not get in.
Win always.
I did not get into Palantir on that move up. Like I know I missed, but I didn't miss by.
Maybe it gives me another chance.
I didn't miss by much. Look, it might give another chance in here. What was I? I can cancel that order. Obviously we did not get it. I just missed it. I had VWAP a little bit higher there, but it doesn't matter. Volume's really starting to come into the downside.
Oh, yeah.
But Apple's going upside here, so this one, 200 to 201, is where we patiently wait for the. Look how strong this sucker is.
Take him out. Take him out.
100K on the bid right now, Palantir at 11s, and they're taking that sucker out like it's absolute butter. And HIMS is almost at 43, everybody. So HIMS is making a big power move to set upside. It looks like that one does want to squeeze everybody out, but it's going to be Apple for me first.
So we talk about this all the time, Neil. On an SSR name, there's only one kind of participant who can hit the bid.
That's the owners of the shares.
If you're using Frex, maybe.
Well, first of all, Frex for the win.
Frex is, might be a little broken there in terms of that mechanic. But again, it makes sense because it'll give you mid prints as well, and that's technically not necessarily taking from the bid. Right, and if in a microsecond it bids up, the Frex can hit you, and you will be providing liquidity in that moment.
That's
why I love the Frex key. Yeah,
for an SSR name, or if it's short sell restricted, it's a good reason.
VWAP sellers right off of the open, Sharif. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. 110s coming in. I'm looking for 109s. There's a held bid. So yeah, people who hold inventory are the people who can hit the bid on an SSR name. You have to already have shares in order to sell them. If I'm selling naked, kind of ish right now, borrowed shares, I can't really take the.
Will we sell with your clothes on, please?
I'm sorry. I'll do my best. I'll make sure I'm fully covered before the end of the day. Don't worry. 109s incoming. Oh boy, is that an ad? I got 109s as a bit of a level here, and this is coming in real hot. Do I add a little bit here? I'm going to try to take some on the 109s. But again, going to pack my patience, as Sharif likes to say here. 109 breakdown could be pretty decent, but again, we've sold off pretty aggressively as well right there. Wow, it gets me again with the Frex. Oh my God. All right, well, that's interesting. 109s, let's see if 109s holds here. 109s printing the quarter right now, a little bit of a hold. But yeah, that aggressive selling, Neil, coming in, that follow through, nice little reaction off of the earnings, strong flush, consolidating sideways in the teens. Now we're breaking down into the 109s. Let's see if we can travel a little bit lower here.
Yes,
bit of a break of trend on the higher time frame, to say the least. And we're poised for some lower lows here. 109s, again, that quarter, there's a lot of churning happening on the quarter. We saw the same kind of churning happening maybe in the 10 halves there. But yeah, let's see, maybe a bounce off of here. But I'm going to stay patient. Again, I have what I have. I'm going to try to do my best to stay nimble here. If we can hold below 110s, this is good. 109 is a bit of a key level on a higher time frame, Neil.
Yeah, and worth keeping in mind too, like the market is not bleeding the way that Palantir is bleeding. Tesla's actually about to break the high of the day. The Nasdaq's trying to get back into VWAP, so you got to try to respect that at least a little bit. Apple's catching a bit of a bid, which I want to respect. They can't seem to get underneath the volume-weighted average price, so we did get close to that 200 level. Didn't get the ad there. I got to start using Frex as well. But the bottom of the range here, 198.6. That's a place that we might have to get out and just take the buck where we can grab it on Apple, because the market's actually relatively strong. That's not 186. 198. 6 is where we get the next bid out. So Tesla's wicking the high. HIMS has flown. You out?
I got out. I punched out there.
I thought you wanted to add through
109. I did add through 109, and then it gave me a little bit of a jitter. I'm like, all right, I punched out definitely a little too early, maybe a lot too early. But again, that key level breakdown, do I expect a little bit of a shake and bake and a chop? I think so. But yeah, that was beautiful right there. 112s. I chased it down, Neil. I was like, oh, give me 113s. I was like, give me 113 quarters, actually. I missed 113 quarters. I was like, okay, give me 113s. And then once it got below 113s, I was like, well, damn, now I have to size down if I'm going to punch and chase into 112. So I take a third of the size. on a different gate altogether without posting, using keys that remove liquidity and get it in on an SSR name. That's a little bit broken. But here comes in that 109, showing us that, yeah, maybe a little bit of a key level. So I'm glad I covered here. Sure, I might have left 50 pennies on the table, but that's fine. Next trade, and where is it at though? That's the question that I'm asking. Let's throw on some moving averages. Let's see if this accelerated selling is going to come in here. Market tailwind though, definitely not on our side as we're starting to break back above some of these pre-market levels. SSR bounce, yeah, maybe potential for an SSR bounce off the 109s. But here's the thing, Neil. We saw that size getting taken out randomly at, what was it, 111s, I think. And then size getting taken out a little bit higher as well. So I'm going to wait to
it's
see
already happening.
if it comes in. Yeah, you got a $1 reversion.
No, sure. it already happened. Here's your, I had to put up a 1 minute chart, but it already did that. Yes. It already did the prior bar break bottom here at 109. So that's kind of gone. HIMS is also absolutely gonzo, everybody. It just broke $44, I believe, into, forget dip buys. It's the same thing. Like passive orders are getting missed left, right, and center. So I tried to pick this up. Remember we said 43, this has to get above the 43 level? Well, you're gone now. I'm going to join the first red candle that I can get. I got to pop back to a 3 minute because I prefer a 3 minute. Sometimes for an SSR play, I'll look at a 1 minute chart so I can see like a really quick turn, but usually I prefer the 3. So Apple just came back in, got 199.80. So the good news is it's turning underneath the $200 level. The bad news is if you're short, it's putting in higher lows and it can't seem to get to VWAP. So I got to respect the strength that Apple has in it at this particular moment. Like right now, if it can't get under 199 this time, I'm going to bail temporarily and wait for the back end of this trade. It's front end trading on this short right now, which is not exactly the plan of action when the Nasdaq's trying to go higher. You got Tesla also going. I mean, Tesla's going ham. But I like 280, like the mid 280s, into 83 to 85. So there's a long way to go before I start thinking about the short there on Tesla. Apple 200 was always going to be part of the plan there, and of course HIMS is the other one we're looking closely. Bye HIMS.
Bye.
HIMS is now at 45.5, up 9%.
Yeah, no,
it is him.
That is the one. Apparently,
it's more than the one.
It's we were like, a little bit of a shake and bake there. Don't know what's really going to happen. Prior day consolidation was very, very tight, right? That was HIMS? Was that HIMS or DataDog? No, never mind.
That was DataDog, but HIMS is the one that squeezed. Remember, 33% short float on HIMS, and there is on the daily just here, like $46 on the daily chart is your resistance level. So it's, I mean, you break through that and you're running into a world of hurt. I didn't see
we pointed this one out in the pre-market, Neil. Here comes lows, maybe some fresh lows here on Palantir. So we did kind of chop up that 109, consolidated. Maybe this is the consolidation for a leg a little bit lower there. I'm not going to get involved here just yet, but that continuation, definitely a trade, very valid here. But I'm going to look for something that is more of my taste. Wow, sellers on the ask, stepping it down, 108 halves. Day lows potentially coming in here. Day low currently at 108.42. We're trading 108.50s right here. A lot of volume kind of churning here as well, but I'm going to stay patient. I'm going to let that come in here. But Neil, there was a name that I pointed. There was actually 2 names. Remember, I was like, these might be just like side burner trades. But they're technically very much coming in, very much in play technically.
One of them was Pepsi.
One of them was Pepsi. One of them was ConocoPhillips. And I was like, both these tickers are breaking down some key levels. Pepsi a lot more than the other. Let's take a look at what Pepsi did right off of the open. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. This is why I gotta talk to Jose in the back and be like, yo, like I gotta automate some of my trades.
That one's a simple breakdown trade.
But it's like I can't be at like 10 places at once. You know what I mean?
I think with that you can set the stop with a bracket order if you already know what your route is going to be. A lot of times it's not.
But I want it easier, Neil. I want an AI that I can just feed my morning plan and it has orders in based on my style of trading.
That's right. Where you need these.
That's what I want. I want to be able to type up my morning plan and be like, all right, here you go. It posts orders. I check them, and then I'm like, all right, cool. That's what we're playing.
Very.
But anyways, a simple breakdown play here on Pepsi. You can see.
Not to interrupt, but like just
what's happening?
Look, the market's actually trying to break out here, so I want to try to go over. Like, if you're looking at the chip names, they're all at the lows, but Netflix is green, up 0.5%, and it's flying to another all-time high. Netflix is good. I don't even tell anybody that. that's a misleading candle because, yeah, it opened up. That actually shouldn't be that bad. Like it's a misleading candle in some ways because it was all upside yesterday and trying to break through 1144 here, which would be yesterday's high. All-time high is a little bit away. Tesla is holding at the high of the day as well. So you are seeing some signs of strength with the Nasdaq trying to break through the volume-weighted average price. I still think Tesla's going to be a fade in the 80s. That's the level that I'm going to be waiting for. I'm still feeling that there's a lot of shorts in here. And Palantir, it's starting to, on a 15-minute, we haven't had the close of the bar yet, but it is really starting to look like that 108.5 is holding. There's a bit of a double bottom here on PLTR. So that 15-minute bar is about to close any second now, but I just want to make sure we showed where the strength is in this market. Tesla doing well, Netflix doing well, obviously HIMS on another level.
Drop on Palantir, man.
It's dude, like $1 back and forth.
Yeah, back and forth. So it's like again. This is now. It's like people talk about what is confirmation. And this is confirmation to me. This is the market, the price action showing me that 109 is definitely a level of interest. I thought it was based off of the chart in the past. It's coming in. It's consolidating in a volatile manner. 50 pennies above, 50 pennies below, or $1 above, $1 below there, with a low of 108.40s and highs of 110s there on Palantir. So yeah, again, did I know this was a good place to cover? Absolutely not. Did I follow the tape there? Maybe a little bit there on a bit of a slowdown on that break of 109 because we bid right back up. I'm like, all right, there might be some buying here. It is SSR. We're down from 113s and change all the way to 109s. And yeah, I did my best to capture what I thought was a decent part of the move there. But again, I'm going to be looking for continued sellers to step in. Where can they potentially step in? Maybe some prior levels, maybe VWAP. Maybe they don't step in at all, and we get a V-shaped recovery. It really depends on how long we consolidate 48 here on that 109. But Pepsi was what I was talking about earlier here. Nice little breakdown. So that breakdown level was 131.60 here on Pepsi. This is a 3-hour chart. Going to a 1 minute, you can see, okay, what was that price again? 131.70, 131.50. 131, yeah, so 131.50 is the low, it would seem. So let's see what we did with 131.50 right off of the open on Pepsi, right here. So where is 131.50? So a little bit of a consolidation. Did that confluence with VWAP? Probably at some point right there. Boom. VWAP hold, continuation, sellers stepping in, volume increasing as we get lower. Look at this volume candle, the highest volume candle since the open. The opening candle is not even...
That's got to be.
No, I 100% believe that candle. I think there, again, some strong volume. It doesn't necessarily mean anything right now, standalone by itself. But yeah, I think that short came in quite nice. That's probably covers buying up 30 halves that shorted off the open.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, but the turn is coming into the market. I don't know how Palantir is holding levels. Oh. So for a split second, there was a bounce on Apple. It did happen. We bounced off VWAP on Apple. It was a mean reversion into 200, and then it just bounced off VWAP and trailed me out when it held VWAP. But now you're busting through the volume-weighted average price. So we waited for 200 on Apple. We got it, and it worked into VWAP. Now we're actually headed lower. What's crazy is HIMS had no trouble with that level on the daily at 46. I mean, none. HIMS up 12%. And there's still not a red candle on the 3-minute here, but that does look like a topping tail. You've got a couple of things to think about. 43, the big prior high, the bigger prior high to me, sets up with the volume-weighted average price. So if HIMS comes back in and snags 43 or anywhere near it, I'm going to want to look for the long on that bad boy. Obviously, a very, very strong name here today, HIMS and hers. I mean, the only thing which is looking like an absolute moonshot. Palantir is still holding the same low. This doesn't want VWAP HIMS. That's a big topping tail, the first red. So I think, be patient, look for the reversion to give you the dip buy. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. We've only traded Apple, and that's worked. We want to move on to something that makes sense for us next. But Palantir still hasn't broken that initial low, Obi. 108. Oh, never mind.
There it is.
Never mind.
You can't speak too soon with this.
I 100% spoke way too soon on that one. It is absolutely busted through, and it is gone like it's gonzo. Just a couple of things that are actually holding up here. Uber, remember they did have a partnership with Pony AI. That deal got announced. It is running into a big resistance on the daily here up at about 86. So for now, turning around. I don't think it has a chance to hims and hers its way to the upside, but it's holding up better than a lot of other names. So any kind of a break above 87, wanted to make sure that we pointed that out to you on Uber. Yeah, Apple really didn't even care about it. Did not care about VWAP there. It did bounce initially. That did happen and trailed out. We'll look to see if we can get back in, but I'm not chasing it at the lows. Market's still range bound here, everybody. Like the Nasdaq hasn't made a fresh low. If you bounce off the bottom, that's a chance to get into some shorts. I want to bounce off the lows, re-enter the short position, ideally in Apple. I don't know what Palantir is going to be able to give to us at this point. Yeah. And Tesla never got to the 80s either.
No, I think some of my charts here might be a little behind here. I got to refresh them. But yeah, no, from what I'm seeing here, okay, are those timers even on? Okay, yeah, they are on. Yeah, so the chip sector kind of chopping around here. Still within opening range is SMH, so I'm watching that one as well. ARM has been a little interesting as well, so going to keep eyes on that one. AMD, that breakdown of that 100, Neil, that came in. Pre-market low breakdown came in real hot off of the open. Did I have AMD on my morning watch list as well? I should know this off the top of my head. But
98
oh
level.
Boy, do I have AMD? No, I don't, but I did remember it. Let's see what I have. I got Apple. So again, I was talking to Neil about this in the morning. I got a lot of tickers on my watch list today, and sure, I think I'm cool with sharing them after the open. Doesn't really matter to me. Again, you can have all the best plans. The execution is where the real
that's where the
edge kind of comes in my opinion. But yeah, okay, cool. Let's go through my morning watch list. Somebody in the chat earlier was like, Obi, don't you post? Aren't you posting your sticky note? Well, the thing is, if I could fit all this onto a sticky note, sure, I definitely would try. But if you guys remember, I did used to kind of come in with a sticky note, but I was like, I need a little bit more details. Wow, 108's coming in. Look at that bid on 108's. Getting eaten through, Neil. So yeah, definitely sellers are very, very dominant on the ticker today on Palantir. 108s, wow, what a breakdown, giving you 15 pennies instantly right there on 108. So pretty awesome there. So yeah, this is what I'm looking at here. So a lot of stuff, right? A lot of stuff. I cannot fit this.
A lot of things.
A lot of things over here, and all of them looking pretty decent. So morning trade plan. First thing I do is define where the VIX is at when I'm sitting down right there. I'm like, the VIX is at 2487s. That's going to help me determine my sizing and maybe the risk that I'm taking. What's up?
HIMS is the one that stands out.
Yeah, HIMS is the one that stands out right there. HIMS, again, last one on the list. All I said, I didn't really plan out that aggressive for HIMS. All I said was it was earnings day one. Same thing with CELH. Ford as well. I want to see what Ford is up to. Where's Ford here on my watch? Wow, Ford with a very strong bid off of the open. That's nice right there. So yeah, that did not work out. Berkshire, IR, BCRX, TGTX, RXRX. Some of these are earnings day two plays. Day ones, pretty much Palantir. You can see.
Not stopping.
I'm like, earnings day one, gap down. It's SSR. Look for the continuation. It broke the multi-day trend, still within the higher time frame weekly trend. If the bid steps in, look for the opening range breakout to start trending, and then look for uptrend breaks to get involved. And I said prior week low is at 108.87. If this gets taken out and trades lower, look for continued sellers to step in to get involved. Look for VWAP, look for uptrend breaks into VWAP to get involved. If the gap down bids off of the open, so that's going the other way, then look for pre-market levels to get involved with, prior resistance at 109. So that's kind of the plan I had for Palantir. Palantir, you can see, it was the most planned out of the rest of them. We had ConocoPhillips there with the breakdown. We had Pepsi continuation, 131.50. We talked about that one. And then Apple continuation. I'm like, prior day low is important. If the trend breaks up, get long above 201. If 198 holds as resistance, look for VWAP to hold and look for sellers to get involved.
Well, so right now,
that's
Obi,
my morning watch list.
VWAP is not holding on Apple. Yeah. It depends on which direction you want to look.
The sellers did step in.
The sellers stepped in.
Much
it
higher.
Definitely faded off the 200 level.
Oh.
Right now, that's what I'm staring down. Outside of Palantir and HIMS, this is what I'm staring down. Can Apple hold the low, give us the shorts up at the 200 level?
Oh my God.
And 201 does make sense for a break, but Palantir is in a full bleed mode right now. It just broke 107, and it looks like we're really starting to fill in a good piece of this gap. There's nothing on the daily till you get to about 100. $100 worth is on the daily chart. However, there is still this 106. The only place on the 15-minute that I think is worth looking at is about 106 is the first spot. So I'm looking for a bit of an SSR bounce, and another dollar lower will take our first shot, I think, at a mean reversion.
Yeah, I definitely have to be a little bit more patient. Again, looking back at it, I added onto the 109. Maybe, sure, covering everything, maybe not the best. But again, I'm not gonna, no regrets on that one. Just got to get involved, get back in. Sure, got out on a little bit of a shaky chop. Get back in. That's the immediate solution there. And sure, going forward, maybe if it's not filling me on the post and I'm getting in on the chase, maybe chase a little bit more with a little bit more discretion there. Again, it was too late to flip to removing liquidity because I was like, why should I be trying to remove liquidity on an SSR name? And it wasn't filling me on the post, so it took me 3 tries before I switched gates. Right? Or switch the method of execution, I would say. They're not necessarily gates. I did try 2 different gates there on the initial push. But yeah, getting involved in that 109 consolidation, knowing that it's a potential area, it gives you another 2 points. 109 to 107 is now currently consolidating. So yeah, nice, beautiful continuation of a higher time frame trend break. And guess what, guys? We're getting that market tailwind as well with the market pushing to the downside. So the question becomes, where is the next trade? That's what I'm asking. A little bit of a chase down here at 107s. Sure, maybe it goes down to 106s, but that's not the trade that I'm looking for. These are not the trades you were looking for. 200 hold on Apple right now. Yeah, that's true. It has to do with their the Mandalorian count, no?
No. Fabian was working on my mic and they had muted it a second ago. I just said.
Is that right?
I said easy on the Jedi mind trick.
I said Mandalorian count.
It's midichlorian.
Midichlorian.
Which is fine.
You didn't catch it, though. I was like...
No, that's my bad. I had to make sure I wanted to unmute my mic there for a second. So I said, look, we'll only look for mean reversions down here on PLTR. I'm glad you got that short on Palantir. That was... Like, I look at it, and I don't remember it breaking VWAP on my chart. I mean,
no, it did. It traded quarters above, and what got me very interested, it struggled to print quarters above 113. I'm like, all right, well, you know...
Yeah, and then once it fell, the only consolidation was down underneath 110. So I think that's going to be an obvious level. But with the trend reversion, this is pretty simple. The prior bar is the low of the day. So it's like breaks the low of the day by a cent and I'm out. But I'm looking for the reversion. VWAP gets you to 110 anyways. So I think that's what we're going to look for here. Oh, the other thing, at the exact same time, because why not? That's how the market works. HIMS is pulling back into 43.
Ooh,
now I know it's underneath VWAP. But remember, 43 was this prior high, yesterday's high, the high from the 29th as well on HIMS. So this is another trend reverse. And to be honest, a lot of times it's better when your trend reverse is going back into the trend to the upside as opposed to just catching the falling knife in Palantir. But I knew I'm going to take multiple shots on Palantir. And it might break that low, but an SSR bounce on a stock as big as Palantir, you're just going to take some shots at it. But I do also like this at VWAP on HIMS. So if we close above the trend line, you're going to see me take a shot on that bad boy. Apple, I mean, Apple's still not really giving you too much direction. It's underneath the volume weighted average price. It's holding the lows. So it's not really giving me the sense that I want to jump in at this bottom. The futures broke the low of the day. Apple did not break its low of the day. So yes, the short worked into VWAP, but now it's suddenly a little bit relatively strong. So that's not something I want to mess around with. It's going to be HIMS next. Palantir, we're waiting for it to get above 107. I might add to it if it shows enough strength, but I'm not seeing the kind of tape that makes any sense to do that. Where did my trend line go?
I like that. I like the move here potentially coming in off that 107. I'm going to be a little bit more patient there. Again, what time is it? It's about 9:58 there. So I do like reversions a little bit later because again, we talk about confluence and having that power in the trades and that confluence, the stacking of factors. Confluence definitely giving us a little bit of that there. Eduardo in the chat saying Amazon and Google are holding this market, and he's talking to both of us here. So I'm going to take a quick look at. Oh, I deleted that. Close that tab that has my Mag 7. That's what I was doing. I was like, I was supposed to do something. I forgot. So let me open that back up. You know, sometimes I feel a little lost if I don't have that market perspective. I need to be able to see. Yeah, got to have the futures there as well. But more than the futures, again, I've talked to futures traders about this, and again, I'm sure there's different schools of thought. But it's a question again: does the tail wag the dog, or does the dog wag the tail? But you know what? The fact of the matter is that stocks have more opportunities than futures.
But whether you want it to be a leading indicator or not, at least it'll give you an idea of relative strength and weakness, right? Like if you don't know what the overall market is doing, you could have your basket of stocks, and then suddenly, because you might be looking at like 4 stocks or 5 stocks, and they're all bearish, and you have a bad idea of what's actually really happening in a broad sense. But Microsoft is holding VWAP. We showed you guys Netflix is doing very strong as well. I did want to, and it's 10 o'clock, so we do need to get to Adara. And then I also wanted to indicate on the other side of the coin, like more looking like Apple, is Meta, which is barely holding on to the lows. Like if Meta and Apple, which are barely above the lows, break those down, this market is going to be in a world of hurt here. Let's go now to Adara.
This is the Nasdaq. We are at day's lows. There is some clear resistance happening here on the 15-minute chart around that 481. The first two 15-minute candles both had a hard high around that level. S&P 500 identical, except that level of resistance is going to be a little bit closer to that 560 level. Here is Palantir. This has been the darling of a lot of people's eyes this morning. It certainly was if you were short. They did beat on sales. They had a nice year-over-year increase. Guidance was pretty solid, but their EPS was in line, and given the PE, looks like this one gets a little bit of a drop to the downside today. Here is HIMS. This is Hims and Hers Health initially. This one had a great start to earnings day one, but as of right now, dropping a little bit lower. Numbers were solid. They beat on EPS and revenue, and their sales were up 111% year over year. But the lower end, or I guess both ends here of their Q2 sales guidance, missed estimates entirely. Last but not least, Lemonade. In line guidance here for Q2, but they beat, the numbers there were decent as well here for LMND. But this one also has about a 30% short float, so keep an eye on Lemonade. Tons of earnings names here today. Also, Scott Bessent apparently set to testify for the Oversight Committee with regards to the Treasury and economic situation. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. If there's anything market moving from that, I'll let you guys know right away. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Back to you.
No, that doesn't. Yeah, I'll status it for you later. Just very quickly. Oh, whoops. We just got into him, but Palantir, we took our first shot at the mean reversion trade, which is the only way I want to be long on this thing, and it just broke that low of the day. This market does not want to get, well, the market's trying to get higher. Hims also broke the trend, and then the prior bar broke out, but it looks like it wants to give up the low. So the mean revert hasn't worked yet. It's really just been a short story at this point, and I've only had one of them, and that's going to be Apple. You know, I was about to move the stop, but I'm just going to get out of this thing. It needs to hold on to the volume-weighted average price. Hims has a $10 range on it today. You only need one on this stock. And I think maybe we need a rounded bottom, something a little better, holding in front of VWAP. It's trying to close, holding that 43, but I want to see a little bit more strength before we jump into it. Apple, which is the one that was pretty clean a couple of times up there at that $200 level, it's starting to show you VWAP. It's kind of a ho-hum because I don't feel all that great about the Apple short way down there. When you look at that trend, it's kind of holding the lows really well. If the market does end up bouncing from here, like yikes, so you want to be in the stock short the bottom that didn't break the bottom. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I'm still looking for the mean reversion trades, and there's only 2 places that make sense for that, and it's Palantir or Hims.
Yeah, so I got a little involved here for potential long that's not looking too good right now. Bids are still getting hit pretty aggressively, so I'm looking for that 107 potentially to bid up. But it's 10 o'clock. It's still a little early here, and again, I'm more than willing to be a little nimble on this position and let it kind of show me a little more before getting a lot more involved. I'm definitely not in what I want to be in just yet because I'm not seeing everything that I want to see. I'm maybe only seeing a couple of different factors. And again, going back to the same thing, want to see a little more confluence to kind of start stacking in the trade, start giving us some stronger probabilities, and then getting involved as well. Market tailwind a little bit on our side here with that bid coming in. 15-minute candle has about 11 minutes left to trade there. And yeah, let's see. Can we reclaim 107? Can we claim the trend? I have, again, an exponential moving average, 8 EMA sitting at 107.63 on a 3-minute chart. So we're trading back up into 107s right now. Let's see if we can trade up another half a point and then push even higher. Again, that would be confirmation. But if this comes right back in through 106s, then I'll be more than likely to be gone and try on the next trade. Go for the next trade there as well. So 106 halves coming in. So it is struggling a little bit, man. So again, being SSR, can I expect that struggle a little bit? For sure I can. I think sellers are definitely dominant. This thing's been running up pretty aggressively, and there was a supply. We saw that it had supply at 125s in February. This is what I was talking about earlier, and we saw more of the same with that earnings reaction coming in. That supply failing to follow through the 125. We get all the way to 130. So the 130 is the failure to follow through, and then flush all the way down to 105.
Well, we got a super chat from Nick Dubs I want to get to. 106s. We got a super chat from Nick here. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a good day. Thanks for all you do. Had a great one on Vertex. That's another one. VRTX, yeah. They reported last night, so good swing there. Still think it retest 390. Looking to add to your calls on Uber at 82. Uber has been an absolute beast. I don't think you have to worry about mean reverting that one just yet, because Uber, I mean, really with this market not doing much, Uber's just holding the bull flag, and it looks pretty strong. Relatively speaking, you can't complain. The only issue with Uber, I think, is going to come into play at that daily level that we talked about. Like 86 up here is a pretty defined double top. Let's do it. Zoomed out too far. 86 is a pretty defined double top. I think in a market this week, you run into some trouble trying to get into that here today. But you've got plenty of room to run. If you have 82s, like, you're absolutely laughing. Palantir just can't seem to hold that bid here,
It's not holding the halves. I got it. I punched out of that
It's only going to take one. I want 106.
I'd rather just wait a little bit there. Again,
as long as they're holding 6. That's kind of going to, I just realized my price is ominous.
And the trade, my original trade is a short. That trade is still technically still working.
Technically, it's still.
And that is the high, like, for me, that is the bigger picture trade as of right now on earnings day one. But I'm getting a little cheeky looking for that SSR bounce, but I do know that it has a strong potential of coming in at some point during the day. So I will take some stabs at the price action if the selling starts to dissipate. But again, no real sign of sellers dissipating just yet.
No, and they're chopping, they're smacking into this 106. Like, every time it gets into the 20s and 30s, they're slamming it right back down into the 10s, and there's no follow through past that move into like the 20s and 30s. So it's probably going to take out that 106. The other thing that's happening, okay, HIMS looks looking a little bit better. I'm going to take the second shot at HIMS, at least attempt to. I don't want to switch level 2 because I don't want to miss it. I want to show you guys. We did not hold that 106. We take a second shot at Palantir. I want to get one in and hold for a big move. I don't want to be sitting there trying to scalp for something like a small move. I'm expecting when we do get a reversion, I want it to be back into VWAP. And when it does curl, I want it to happen rather quickly. Roscoe in the chat, you just said Tesla put. Tesla 270, man. That's what I want to see. Thanks for info. We did look, we're favoring short in Tesla, but let's be real, I wasn't even thinking about it short until it was in the 80s. Unfortunately, the only thing, if you wanted to pop and fade today, the only thing that was a fade that came into the level for me was Apple. Apple 200 was the only one that came right into play. Tesla hasn't really seen that 270 yet, but it is trying to break the trend. It's Apple, Meta, same thing. Tesla, same thing. Market broke lows, they got to the low and didn't break it. So you got to respect at least that level of juice that's in Tesla. I know it's down 2.5% into a down market, double what the market is down, but it's still able to hold that low. And 271.5, like, that's really close to where we've been bouncing on the stock. Like, it's not like this is not bounced in one place on Tesla. It has been bouncing between 271 and 272 this entire time. So I think you can expect that range to hold. Unless it breaks under 270, I'm not shorting it down here. No way, shape, or form. I am just in HIMS. We took our second shot at the mean reversion trade. Looking a little bit better now with a bottoming tail and some, there you go. You get a bottoming tail candle after some green. This looks good. I think if it can hold VWAP, I want to be adding to this position on a hold of VWAP and then see if we can get anywhere near to those highs. 45, well, 46 is the big level, but I'd certainly take some out in front of 45.
Yeah, so maybe potential bid coming in here, a bit of a push into the trend. Where is that moving average again? If I'm again, you got to just use something to define trend here. If I'm using a moving average on a 3-minute chart, then the 8 EMA is sitting at 107.26s, and price is pretty much held relatively well below that. I think this is a 9 EMA here, so the teal line here is the NEMA coming in just above that 107 level here as well. So yeah, let's see. The trend hasn't broken those indicators just yet. But yeah, let's see, 106, a little bit of a hold. 105.74 is the day low, and we're coming into about 10.10 at the time right now in that market, catching a little bit of a bid as well. So let's see if Palantir can bring us in, or again, maybe we do test some lows. I have no idea, but I'm staying patient. I'm staying nimble as possible on this move.
OBB nimble, OBB quick.
OB take a ride on the candlestick?
Well, I don't know. You're the pun guy, man. I'm hoping you could finish that one. The candlesticks make sense. Hopefully, Palantir will get higher. That's what everyone wants to see. Trust me, like, you don't want to be. You prefer to make money on the longs. I get it. The best trades off the open were probably some really good shorting opportunities. But we all want to see some long. We like it when the stock market goes up, for sure. Look, I want to see American Rebel. I'm going to get to American Rebel in a second, but I want to see HIMS hold above VWAP. It just did a test above the volume weighted average price and immediately rejected. So I'm respecting that. I took some out. I want to reload if I can get the 43s, which is just the prior highs. I want to play off the prior highs until we can play off the volume weighted average price. But HIMS is starting to look good. Apple is starting to look strong. The market is starting to look very strong. And American Rebel, for all you small cappers out there, apparently it is not dead after all. At the open, like a lot of things, this just flushed right in. But guess where it bounced? Support and resistance is a beautiful thing. And when resistance turns into support, it is the easiest possible technical setup that you can ever find. Because you don't have to hunt for it. You don't need anything elaborate. All you have to do is zoom out the chart. And if it does it once, does it do it twice? That's a mean reversion entry. Like everything, like what I'm hoping will happen in Palantir, this basically just gave it to you right at the level you'd want it to happen at 310. Typically, I'd look for it to get into the volume weighted average price. So I think it's got some room to go. So shout out to everyone on AREB. That's a textbook setup.
Yeah, that thing was crazy, even in the pre-market there. HIMS, what a beautiful reversion back down into VWAP. Definitely missed out on that one there. Here comes some potential fresh lows on Palantir. 105.74 is the current sitting day low, trading at 105.90, so not very far away from that. It is definitely coming into that level right now. Printing the 80s. So watching that one as well. Apple did not really use that 108 as resistance that I was looking for. We're holding, chopping around pretty much sideways. So I'm going to stay patient with that one here. Look at that, 106 rebid. So yeah, we've slowed down pretty decently. It's coming into the first, I guess, hour or so since trading. So 10:30 on the horizon as well. So keeping that in mind. Let's see. Wow, gold is trying to push highs as well. That was another ticker, GLD, that I had on watch. Gold very, very strong. Maybe breaking some trends, higher time frame trends there as well. Here's a little bit of a bid back into 106 halves. Funny again, when normally when you would look at the tape like this, and if it wasn't SSR, aggressive bids like that would be definitely a little bit unusual. But again, being SSR, the buying can get pretty aggressive if and when it does start to happen, and we're seeing a little bit of that every time it starts to kind of chop around. So again, going to keep that information as just knowing that in this situation, that's probably just a lot of noise. So I'm just going to be patient. 106.95s is now the moving average, the 8 EMA right now. Again, the simple indicator we're using to define the trend. And if the trend breaks, it will be if Palantir can sustain relatively well above that level here. And that's what I'm just, again, going to use as an example to define trend. But I like to use multiple indicators to define, define trend as well. So
I want to see one more 15-minute bar close.
Yeah.
Before I get into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, I'm taking multiple shots on HIMS reversion. I'll take multiple shots on a Palantir, but I want to see another 15-minute bar because it looks like we're about to have a 15-minute green close on Palantir, which looks like then I'll flip to the lower time frame. Close it green on the 15, which is seemingly going to happen. It kind of sucks because I have my executions on here, which I don't want to take off. But if the 15-minute closes green, then I go down to the 3 and look for the long setup on Palantir. Until then, all bets are off. I do want to go to the chip names, everybody, because I know we've ignored the chip names, and you're seeing some strength come back in the market. NVIDIA is back above VWAP and trying to break itself out above 112. I actually thought when I was writing the note that above 98 was what I liked a little bit better on AMD. So this is the one that I wanted to lean to, but you can see the difference between AMD and NVIDIA. NVIDIA just a little bit stronger right now. I feel like you have to make the pivot to the one that's stronger, so look for a VWAP retrace here. I want to see it if it can hold VWAP on a dip, then I like it. So the only reversion that's actually working is HIMS. I type Nasdaq every single time on this stock. I don't know why. In my brain, it's a Nasdaq stock, which now is looking to close above the volume weighted average price. So if we can close above VWAP on this 3-minute, I want to be adding into this long. I think this can easily get back to 46, which is still at least $1.50 away, and 44 sits as a volume weighted average price. So I want to see it settle down off VWAP, try to add to that position, and then work into the 46 level. HIMS is at least giving you a bit of a bounce, while Palantir is not doing.
It's a falling knife.
It is absolutely flushing. The LTR just took another low, 105 now on Palantir.
That's aggressive, yeah.
So much for that green 15-minute close.
Yeah, no.
That didn't happen, unfortunately. I was looking for the same thing, and I was going to go long, but it was another red on the 15. Not yet, apparently for me, not yet.
Yeah, so this thing the continuation has been absolutely wild here as it continues to trade a little bit lower. So I'm definitely pretty wrong as of right now on this ticker. Palantir 105 is coming in now. So 105 halves, so current day low 105.32. That breakdown of that 105, I think 70, 74 was that prior low, gave us aggressive selling. So yeah, definitely stops getting taken out on that, and maybe some strong selling coming in as well on the breakdown of that level. 105 is interesting stuff. Let's see if we can kind of come in. Again, looking back at the chart, there's not really any significant kind of maybe support turned resistance until, or resistance turned support maybe until around 100 in terms of recent levels. I'm just simply looking at the daily chart here, looking at highs from April 15th, and then highs from March 25th as well. So yeah, again, if we continue to sell all the way into those levels, oh boy, Neil, that's much lower than current current prices. But again, I'm gonna pack my patience, like I said, and the market potentially coming right back in to highs here as well. Let's see what Adair is saying, because Trump's on the mic.
Than Trump, but we do have Scott Bessent currently speaking right now for the Appropriation Committee, the House Appropriation Committee. They said to him, truthfully, how many countries are you talking with? Because a lot of numbers have been thrown around. He said about 90, I think 96 or 97 countries, just shy of 100. So he said that they are trying to talk here to these trading partners. Nasdaq trying to push a little bit higher here. Again, if there's any more comments, I'll let you know. But I am sitting here listening to Scott Bessent's testimony here for the House Appropriation Committee. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adair. Appreciate it. Another stock which is absolutely flying is Upwork. I was just looking at Coinbase again because I wanted to see what Mara was doing, which is an idea that we had. But I wanted to make sure we talked about Upwork. 18% to the upside and squeezing. So this one's got room. It's got half decent volume, not the best, but it's half decent volume up here and trying to go higher. I still think for a lot of people, like maybe HIMS is going to be the one, but I have to respect what this candle looks like for now. Break of the high, break that 46, and now we're starting to resist that 46. So I want to keep that in mind, that if we cannot get past 46, it's a very key level. There's a nice candle finally above the volume weighted average price. It tried to break back underneath. Now I want to look for some kind of an ad out in front of the 44 level. Now that things are starting to calm down on him. But you got to show me that strength. And I got to think trend in, trend out. Like it's starting to, like the next higher low we put in will give me a bit of a trend line that I can follow on HIMS to set upside. So that's the one we're working with. I want more than this. I think he can get to the 46 level. And the more I say that, it's like, why am I not on the offer? This is why I didn't get the short in Palantir. because I didn't have an offer out there fast enough. Sometimes it's just about speed. You'd rather be sitting in the book, because when you get to a key price level, if you throw an order in, the algos see new orders come in and they jump in front of them. Sometimes if you're already sitting in the book, it can be a little bit easier, especially if it tries to swipe. I still like some Apple in front of the 200 level, and lo and behold, we didn't have the right out in terms of holding it, but I think we have the right entry point if it tries to get back into the 200 to 201. So let's let it get back to that high before we try jumping into this one to the south side, as Apple is showing some strength. And there are several small caps showing strength, some which we have not shown to you, and Adara will. But now.
I just want to clarify too, Scott Besson's also saying, once again, this is not the first time we've heard this from the Trump administration. He's saying that trade deals could come as soon as this week. Not a lot of clarity as to who or as to if it's definitely coming this week, but apparently they could come this week. He also said of the 18 trade partners that the U.S. has, they are negotiating with 17 of the 18, but they've not engaged with China yet. So now Besson is saying they have flat out not engaged with China. We've heard a lot of talk as to whether or not China and the U.S. have talked, but right now Besson seeming to indicate that they have not, quote unquote, engaged with the country yet. Here is PTIX, trying to make a little bit of a lower low here, but this is protogenic. This is PTIX, the second day of trading after its 1-for-14 reverse split, which went into effect yesterday. Here's KTTA. This is another small cap. I believe Mitch mentioned this one this morning from Trade the Pool. Pasithea, this one with a drug showing tumor reduction in pancreatic cancer, KTTA, under a 3 million share float. It's a pretty small float. Last but not least, UPWK, Upwork with a earnings beat across the board, and they raised their guidance for fiscal 2025 adjusted earnings per share. They reiterated their sales guidance as well. So no guidance cut here for UPWK. Certainly near day's highs. Back to you. Make sure to like and subscribe.
The market is absolutely flying now. Like, it's going power up. NVIDIA is breaking out the top. Well, I mean, it's attempting to break out the pre-market resistance right now, almost up 1%. AMD is cruising. That's now almost at $100. Just broke that 99 level. Tesla's kind of languishing a bit. My eyeballs are going to be obviously on HIMS, which hasn't really given me exactly what I want to see. For now, it can't break that 45. I might need to put the trailing stop in. It's definitely got an upward trend that I want to respect. Apple as well, getting close to that 200 level, but it's HIMS that I have to monitor. You know, like, you're getting close to that 46. Remember I showed you guys that daily chart? 46 is the big level on the daily. It was already one big reversion underneath it. This is the kind of stock where, remember, the initial reaction was to the downside. After the earnings. If it loses this trend underneath the big level 46, it could fill in the entirety of the gap. So I'm respecting this 46 level. There's always another trade. If I get trailed out of this, which I'm still in, oh, there's a push. I actually like to see that. It hit the trend line and then just bounced big. So I think if we get to that 46, we'll take the out, look for see if it can go even higher than that. Good look for HIMS and hers, at least for now. And Palantir, my goodness, Palantir. Is this it? This is finally on Palantir.
Yeah, some strong bidding.
That's some strong bidding coming in.
We'll see if there's follow through. It's just coming back into some
position boards down.
Yeah, position boards down there. Yeah, no. Let's see if there's follow through. It's coming back into some prior resistances right here. Sellers kind of stepping in 107s. We saw some size coming in 109. So now to get all the way back to VWAP, which is currently sitting. I have here around 109s, 109.50s, depending on how you're measuring it. That's kind of coming into some of those prior levels. That first kind of consolidation, again, remember, happened around that 109, and now VWAP is coming into that 109. So interesting stuff. Let's see if there's follow through on the bid back into VWAP, and then let's see if there's follow through of sellers at VWAP, or are sellers still at 107s? Do we step right back in? Market tailwind is definitely helping us out, so I got to keep that on watch as well. I was telling Neil, I was like, oh boy, watch the opening range here on the Nasdaq and the ES. If that cracks, then that's definitely pretty decent for probabilities of Palantir, given the time as well. So let's see, we've sold off a decent chunk. There's some size on the ask there. 107s, 463 lots right there. Let me throw up the lot filter here, so you guys can see. We'll do it on this one as well. Don't really need it for Apple, more for Palantir currently. But yeah, let's pull this up here and take a look at this book. right here. So that guy was sitting at 107. Did Buddy get filled? No, not yet. So we're still having a lot of chop there. Let's see if this market continues back up and gives us a strong bid there. But 106.80 is currently trading on Palantir. We talked about that. We talked about that moving average as well. You can see the nice little teal line here on my chart. I'm pretty sure this is a 9 moving average, if I'm correct. And the 8 moving average currently sitting at 106.63s. We're trading about 30 pennies above that. There's Buddy on the ask right there, 200 lots. 400 lots right there at that 107s. Maybe 200 of them a bit of a spoofy man right there. And here we go. 107s get taken out. Let's see if we get that continuation up into 109. I don't know. This could be a dead cat bounce, right? We sold off pretty aggressively, and SSR is on. So again, I'm gonna stay patient. Make sure I'm following my rules. Make sure I'm trailing my tickers properly. But yeah, that's what I got on watch.
Yeah, and that's all you need, everybody, is to have a plan of action. But you know what? If you have a plan of action, you can also take it over to Trade the Pool, because traders funded by Trade the Pool have been cashing out big. We're talking about 5,300, 15,200, 36K, even 29,940 on a single trade. Here's how it works. You pay a one-time evaluation fee starting at $47, and that's your total risk. Trade real shares, not CFDs, using up to $200,000 in company capital. You keep 70% of the profits, no margin calls, no account blowups. Scan that QR code that you see and get 10% off. Start your journey. Shout out to Trade the Pool. And hopefully in the trading pool, some people have got some longs off the bottoms because they're starting to work out pretty nicely there. I see Palantir really going. I'm going to cancel because it finally did the bottoming tail in the break, which I missed. Obi's in it right now, but Hims is into the trail. So it got close to the 46 level. My trailing stop is on this trend line. So if we lose, it's about 45. If we lose 45, I'm jumping out. Like a lot of times you're like, yeah, that's not enough room. It's because of the 46 level. So if we only grab a buck change on that one, like $1.50, we'll be happy with it. That's the level we're working off of, is that 46. So I want to make sure that we're respecting it. Back over to Nvidia, man. Like this is also a heavy trend to the upside. And the first thing I thought about is there something I can mean revert the trend on? The first thing that happened, my mind went over to Intel, which is holding VWAP while the market is holding highs. Market holding near the top. This is holding right underneath VWAP, which is relative weakness. So that's what I want to get to. But we did miss a super chat. I just want to make sure I put that trading plan in there. So if you saw it come in, I talked about where we wanted to get into Intel under 20. H. Jordan Lopez, thoughts on 280 in CEG? First things first, I'll always tell you guys, if I have not looked at something yet, that it's the first chance I'm getting to look at Constellation. Before I get to that, I mentioned the trailing stop on HIMS and what the plan of action was. There's the trail out on HIMS. We're able to get it off that 43 level, which ultimately is what we wanted. The pullback into the prior high, so we didn't get the break, which was much better, obviously, through 43. We got the pullback into the prior high. We got it to 45, so we took a couple of shots at it. You only need one of them to work, right? Like, make sure that whatever you're taking for the out, my first profit is bigger than what I'm risking. So you know it's going to be positive. And that way you go 1 for 3 and you can still be up on it. But when it comes to Constellation, load. This has been an absolute rocket. Just be careful with the volume on this. This is probably more of an Adara spready ticker. Guys, she'd probably be really into this one. And if you look at technically, it's pretty simple. 200 period and 281. So right where it rejected the 50 period, hard to see right in there. It's got room to rally, and it looks somewhat linear since the open, where it's just holding the trend line on light volume. So unless there's a crazy volume spike or a break of trend, I think that looks more like a hold, and 280 looks like the level you'd be working with, but the volume not looking very good, at least to my eyes. It doesn't look like fantastic volume there on CEG. So I want to get into Intel. It's showing me this kind of weakness. It's the kind of short you can just sit in. Like yesterday, look at that setup. Tried to break the high, first look, then it holds VWAP and just slides down all day. Reload at VWAP, slides down all day. When it's relatively weak, it's essentially just free money to play off of VWAP. It's not free money, it's just really tight risk. You can risk like 2 or 3 cents on this stock and then hold it for like 15 or 20. Like, Who wouldn't do that?
Yeah, I'm like staring down the tape here like a hawk. I'm just like, I'm like, all right, I was watching it on the way down. The bid is finally maybe attempting to step in. The futures have broken opening range highs. We're continuing a little bit of the bid here. We have a bit of a trend break. We're holding above what we were defining as as trend resistance, as now trends, as maybe a potential support. So again, staying a little bit patient. We're trading at 107s. VWAP is sitting at 109.40s, only about 2.5 points away. If the futures gives us a little bit of more tailwind, then maybe we get involved with that VWAP reversion here as of right now. But again, bit of a pullback back into 106s, not looking at too great. Again, like I said, this could very well dead cat bounce, and we don't get that push into VWAP. But again, I'm going to stay a little bit patient here. It hasn't necessarily told me that is totally off the table just yet. But if the futures continue to go, like I said, maybe we do catch a little bit of a bid. Again, it's SSR. So what I'm noticing as well is like the bid is not getting hit as hard as it was off of the open. Absolutely not as hard as it was off of the open. So definitely a little distinctly different there. And finally, buying maybe potentially meeting those sellers pretty evenly as of right now, as we kind of chop sideways. Again, 106s, 107s, nice little chop. Pretty much first sign of the slowing of that selling. Down about, what is this? How much are we down currently? We're down about 13.6%, and that's off of yesterday's close as well. So let's see what this 107 holds in store for us, Neil. But yeah, maybe poised for a bit of a reversion here. That's what I'm looking for. Market tailwind definitely on our side. 19,900 on the Nasdaq. But if we pull back a little bit there, I'll be more than willing to get out of that one. Daniel T in the chat saying Ford. Yeah, man, Ford. I had eyes on Ford a little earlier. Ford is super strong right now, printing day highs there, 1060s. On Ford. So, oh boy, that one is coming in real hot. Wow, there's some sellers stepping in on Palantir back in through that 107. So the question becomes, have sellers stepped down? Maybe. I don't know. Market pulling back a little bit here, Neil.
Yeah, the market goes right into the overnight highs and starts to pull right back in there. I do believe we are going to Adara. It's 10:30 already.
Oh boy.
Time to talk some crypto.
Time flies, doesn't it? Unfortunately, today, Bitcoin does not. We really are continuing to have a little bit of a stall. Mind you, still holding support around that 92 halves level, but that 98,000 level really holding us some resistance. Since we tried to touch that, we've had two pretty weak sessions over the weekend, both Saturday and Sunday to the downside. Now today and yesterday, trading within the same pretty tight range. So we'll have to wait and find out what happens with BTC, but certainly not making that beautiful upside push that we're seeing the market at least try to do here. Though, again, market is still red on the day. Let's take a look at some of these other non-Bitcoin related names. We have Ethereum down 1.5%, XRP down about 1%, Solana 0.8%, Doge, Cardano both down over 1%. So once again, really tight trading here for these crypto names, mirroring the tight range that we've seen in Bitcoin as symbolized here or represented on that chart. Back to you.
It is back to us, and I can tell you that we're losing the bid a little bit here. Just saying, nothing's set up A+ on Palantir to the downside, to the upside just yet. But you're losing the bid on Tesla underneath. I did jump into that VWAP trade on Intel, but I also want to look at AMD. Because I had an over-under idea for AMD at 98. And when the market came in, I was really more focused on Palantir and HIMS, which I think made sense. Well, and Apple too. Like those are the three stocks that we traded first. I think that was the right thing to do. But you're above that 98. Sorry. No,
oh boy.
I know. I can just hear Adara. It's all good. It's all good, Adara. It's all good. I think Adara's listening to the press conference and is chuckling at something that got said, and it got me. I'm sorry. It's contagious laughing. No, 98 is holding on AMD, so I want to try to respect that. Like this is more of a wipeout bottoming tail candle on AMD, and I'm reminding myself that AMD is above the 50-period moving average and trying to break away from it. I want to give it a chance. If this market is going to go, AMD has put in outsized moves before relative to NVIDIA. That's a gorgeous looking bottoming tail candle right at the support you want to see off that 98. So I look for some continuation. I know I'm short Intel. Intel is just a different beast. Anytime it gives me that look off of VWAP the way it is underneath, then I want to take that shot at it. But AMD, I'm starting to think can turn into a bit of a long play. I'm not at that point yet that I want to abandon looking only for the shorts. And HIMS, oh yeah, I got to tell you HIMS. It came into that 46 level. I trailed out of it, and it was a trap. One red candle, there's the trail, and now it's breaking through 46. So the continuation is on. And HIMS, this is a squeeze play, and if it holds above 46, there's nothing to like 56 on the daily. Like, it was just pure gap in both directions on HIMS. So I don't wonder if we can't take another shot at this. It's not VWAP. For now, the obvious place I'm looking at is the volume weighted average price to go into the long again. And if not that, then at 43. We'll take a couple more shots at the long at HIMS, only if it sets up nicely for us. Super strong move.
Yeah, this again, market's coming in. So we kind of pulled back on that initial push, the first 5 minutes of that 15-minute candle. But now take a look at that. We're pushing some fresh highs on the session on both the futures here, Nasdaq and the ES. So I'm looking for that tailwind, and oh boy, Ford is still continuing to go. Ford still hasn't necessarily broken that out of that 1060 that we mentioned earlier. 1061 is still the high on Ford, but very, very strong off of the open. There is that ticker again. Earnings day one today. HIMS again. Also, we know Neil's very active on that one right now, and that thing is pushing a little bit for its highs as well. But I'm curious to know, what are you guys trading? Let me know what tickers you guys are looking at today. I know there's probably a lot of eyes on Palantir as well. Oh boy, there goes the candle. A bit of a green to red there. A bit of a flush on the futures. You can see that Nasdaq candle, we were just talking about it going green, and then slams right back in once more. So yeah, a little bit of a shake and bake, a little bit of a chop here. So we've got to stay as wary as possible for all the traps that may be set in terms of predatory price action here. It's a trap. It's a trap for sure. But yeah, I'm just doing my best not to get trapped, and doing my best to try and stay on the right side of the move as best as possible. 107.50s potentially coming right back in. So we did take a pullback, and guess what? That pullback sustained. This is the first higher low that is coming in on Palantir for now. So maybe people are looking at that as confirmation as well for the trade. So I'm looking to ride on some of those participants as well, but we got involved much earlier because I think, in my opinion, there were factors of confluence that kind of started stacking a little earlier. But again, no idea if this trade is going to fully come into fruition. But like I said, I'm trying to do best to stay nimble and to stay as flexible as possible as well. That 107.5s was pretty interesting. That was that little push right there. I did get a little aggressive. I told Neil, I was like, yeah, I did kind of add into that 107.50s push, that consolidation from earlier. I was like, all right, well, if we're going to squeeze some intraday shorts, this is the place to do it, 107.5s. But we pull back, maybe trap some more, and then pushing back in. So I like that even better for the long trade if we're going to trap more intraday shorts. But again, if you're going to trap the longs and I'm wrong, I'm definitely more than willing to get out of this one as well. So I've got to stay as flexible as possible here. At 107.25s holding pretty decently right now, but futures tailwind can definitely give us some oomph here. That's what I'm looking for, if that'll have us. But 107 is a little choppy. No idea what's going to happen.
If you're looking to add some oomph to your trading game, then eSignal is for you. And the best part about it, we say it over and over again because it's true. The first month is free. FREE, it's the best price in the land, where you get to try out a professional trading platform that allows you to trade smarter and not harder. Backtest, forward test, use anchored VWAP like you'll see Obi using. Use a hot list and a scanner for the volatility, which shows you Palantir and NVIDIA and Apple are moving the most. That's what we've been trading a lot of today, Psalms, NVIDIA. Connect to multiple brokers so you can trade directly through the platform. Reliable real-time data, tick replay, and balance locator, pretty much everything that you can imagine. An entitlement-based system allowing you to add and subtract what you want so you can custom fit the experience to you. And as I said, First month free, so try it out. No harm, no foul. Scan the QR code you see out in front of you. Big shout out to eSignal, which I use. And I wasn't lying, the trade rate is Palantir, NVIDIA, Apple, TQs, Tesla, MSTR, which we haven't looked at, Webull, which we were talking about earlier, which we haven't really traded into just yet. I'm surprised to see HIMS near the bottom of that list, however. As HIMS is flying, it is losing that 46. So remember that 46 level on HIMS, it did lose that. I want to see if we can either get VWAP or the 43, the prior high. Maybe you can double bottom at that 43. That's the optimal level to trade off of as far as I'm concerned and where I want to be eyeballing. Like I said, there's some strength in the chip names right now, but AMD's pulling back into VWAP. NVIDIA, which has been stronger, continues to hold. So I think it's pretty easy to see which one is the strong one right now. I can like AMD all I want, but you're showing me that NVIDIA is the strong one. First pullback, it makes a higher low. Second pullback, it continues to make a higher low. At some point, it could break trend. When it does, I'm actually going to add. I'm going to add to the Intel position if this breaks the trend. No question about it. The other thing which I'm looking for, was Apple back at 200. It loses 199, and suddenly looks like we're not going to get that top on Apple another time. I still want to only look shorts on Apple, but I might have to think about a lower high and find another way into this trade. Not thinking about VWAP yet. I don't want to go away from the original plan because it did work, but Apple showing relative weakness all of a sudden. Under VWAP, all the markets at the highs. Adara?
This is the sector board, and it's honestly pretty flat for the most part. Finance, gray. Retail trade, gray. Producer manufacturing, lightly red, but nothing too crazy. Process industries and health services, both slightly down. Not too much. We do have some strength, though, in energy minerals, consumer services, a couple of great names here. Let's talk about what's weak. Health technology, sharply to the downside. We know Donald Trump has talked once again about pharma tariffs. He says they're going to be coming in about 2 weeks, and he's already signed orders here to boost some domestic output. So health technology, Eli Lilly, AbbVie, Merck to the downside. Consumer durables kind of mixed here. We have some strength in some of these non-Tesla names, but TSLA, pretty red here to start off the day. Technology services getting brought to the downside by Palantir down 14% in earnings day one, though Netflix continuing its outstanding strength here, up about 1%, still near all-time highs. Adobe actually green as well, but electronic technology, pretty red. So once again, we're seeing these names that weigh more in the index, making a big move compared to a lot of these sectors, which are quite frankly basically flat today. Back to you.
Okay, all right.
Thank you very much, Adara. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. No, I'm just saying okay because I'm like 107.50s, right? So I hit the Frex for the buy. It kind of, it doesn't fill. It pulls back, fills me, and then rips right back up. So 108's coming in now. So where is VWAP, you may ask? 109.28, Sharif is sitting, is VWAP currently there. And here on the P Pro, a little bit lower, 108.60. So got to keep that in mind there. Let's see if we get that continuation through that 108, that prior consolidation area low. I'm seeing coming in at 108.30s, maybe 108s as well, flat. So only about a quarter there left. So the reversion definitely coming in with a little bit of a umph here on Palantir. Let's see if we can get that reversion to VWAP. No idea if it's going to come in clean. It's definitely not been clean. It's definitely not been very, easy price action, but it is stair-stepping. It's doing well, so I do want to stay involved here. And again, stay nimble as well. 108's coming in now. No real size on the ask, but we did take out some size a little bit lower, 107 halves as well. A bit of a reserve on the ask here in the 80s, so let's see if we can get that continuation. Again, we talk about market tailwind being on our side as a strong factor of confluence, and guess what, Neil? We definitely have that confluence currently. Prior bar high break on the 15-minute once again, happening at that 107 half, so looking for that continuation currently. Let's see if we can get that 108. 60s is that? 108 60s, 108 70s. Again, maybe I trail to a prior bar low as well for some of the position, maybe not all of it, but that continuation potentially coming in. Sellers were aggressive off the open, and oh boy, did we try to get involved with them. But now definitely dissipated is the selling for now, and the buyers maybe taking over. But again, VWAP is going to be interesting for me if it can come in, and if we get some strength there. I do want to stay involved with Palantir. One of the top ideas on the day, going both ways, long and short, doesn't matter. I really don't care.
I'm glad you said long. If you didn't finish that one with saying going long or short, the chat would have had a field day with it. But you know what was having a field day with reversions is DataDog. Remember we said let this one open up and show you a little bit of volume and liquidity? Dumped off the open, held 101, now trying to go red to green. Well, it never broke above 109. I was only bullish above 109. Resistance from yesterday at 107. It's now clean trending into that resistance from the prior day high. This is as clean a trend as you're going to get, so I'm slapping the trend line on DataDog. I knew this is a trade that I wouldn't look at DataDog until volume started to come into it, and after the open, well, this is a very, very clean trend line that I'm going to throw up there for sure. I see Jorge, I don't know if did you go over the 15-minute for Palantir? I don't know if you did.
Yeah.
So this is what the 15-minute looks like, Jorge. It does look like a long. Unfortunately, like that's on the 15-minute, it didn't really set you up clean. I was looking for a 15-minute confirmation. By the time that one closed green, your prior bar break is right in here. Like you're only now looking long, which is nowhere near the high. And I wanted to see it like that 107.50 that Obi was talking about. That's where I wanted to see it get through. Then I look over, what does it look like on the 3-minute? Well, you're now only like $1.50 away from VWAP. So suddenly it doesn't look like a good setup unless you're taking it through the volume weighted average price. So for myself, it just never set up an A+ trade for me on that VWAP trade. So shout out to anyone in it. Obviously, if you got that bottom on Palantir, kind of kicking myself that we didn't get VWAP on HIMS. I want to be long this again, but I don't know if we're going to. Right now, it's trying to close above that prior high at 46 on the daily. So that's a big level. They're trying to buy above it. The last time it failed, I thought we were getting a VWAP. If it can hold above 46, then that's where I'm going to re-enter on this bad boy. I'm only looking long right now in HIMS, at least until we retest that high of the day. Only about 15 minutes to go. Palantir is trying to moon. NVIDIA is running into a little bit of resistance, but not that much. I mean, if NVIDIA can just break and go green, this market got another leg and we'll try to go green itself. But it's starting to stall out here on NVDA. That's kind of the problem that this market's having right now. Apple's not going for you. Microsoft isn't really doing much of anything. Trader Forever asking about Netflix filling in the gap. It's not a huge gap percentage-wise, but it's not nothing. And it is showing some strength above it. The only problem is Netflix isn't going to drag the market with it. I like Netflix. I love Netflix. I think it has a chance to fill in this gap. But everything is sort of stalling out at this high currently. And I'm thinking about, that's why I'm thinking about the mean reversion on DataDog. Because we're just sort of slowing down this upward trend. And here's DataDog, which has already done it twice on a mean reversion. Once in the pre-market, and now I wait for it to close under, trade to VWAP, maybe even lower.
The reversion can definitely be a little bit mean here as Palantir coming into VWAP. So I did kind of piece out a little bit above that 108. I did get I aggressively sized, so that was good. I got into about almost triple, I guess triple, so like B size. I would say B size, yeah. I got into B size, let's say that, and took off a decent chunk there. Posted here at 108 halves. There it is, taking me for the last one. So now my average is to the chase entry that I had at the 108s. So now I'm just looking for that final continuation. We made it into P-Pro VWAP, which is sitting at 108.60s. I have other VWAPs here at 109.26s. No idea whether we're going to get there or not, but the idea is to take off 60 to 70% in and around near target, and I've done that well here. 108.50s coming in. Let's see if we get that full-on reversion to VWAP. SSR bid definitely coming in beautifully off of a 105 hold. Sure, did it hold 105 perfectly? Absolutely not. The low day is 105.32, but again, a little bit of confluence there. Okay, I want to get out of the rest right there, cancel everything else. Thank you, come again. That's that reversion to VWAP, and it happened to work out pretty decently there on the bid. Sure, VWAPs, depending on what kind of VWAP you're looking at, might be a little bit a point higher, but again, that's all I'm looking for, 105s to 108s. I like that. Where is the next trade? That's what I'm asking. And moving on to the next one. is what I want to do. Market's kind of strong. NVIDIA bidding, TQ's bidding, so maybe the short potentially coming in. Let's see. There's that 108 bidding coming right back through. So I'm glad I kind of got out there for now. We'll see what it does in and around VWAP. If we can hold and sustain above VWAP, and maybe we're looking for a full-on V-shaped recovery continuation back through open 113s and change. The open was 112.71.
If that gets to 113.
If it gets to 113, that's absolutely. But we've seen this happen.
We've seen it before.
So it's like, all right, cool. Like it's like I can sit there and be like, oh my God, I don't believe it, or be like, all right, it's stepping up. The probabilities get a little bit higher every time it takes another step up, right? So I'm like, all right, let's see if that happens. But VWAP sellers, that's what I want to look for because they were very, very dominant right off of the open. Again, it's an SSR name. You need to have inventory to sell into the bid, and if you see bids getting taken out, it might give you an inkling, maybe some short-term direction of who might be doing the selling, and then that might add some confluence to your decision-making. In itself, it doesn't mean anything. In itself, it's definitely just noise, but when confluence with multiple other factors, you might experience a little bit of power there. Is my screen flickering here? I know that Sean sometimes complains about that, but my screen's been flickering a little bit.
It happens, but I don't think.
But it's not flickering. Something else pops up and it comes back in.
I don't think you see it on the broadcast. So I think it's fine for everybody watching. Mine will do it sometimes too, but I think it's fine for everybody watching. Hando Man just asked, what about Intel? Nothing's changed. I like boring trades, and Intel, it's still looking the same. This prior bar above 20, that's where the stop is. I'm in under VWAP. It has not broken. This is a 3-minute chart. Let me zoom in so you can see better. It has not broken that. I'm not adding to it above VWAP. If it shows me, like it did this yesterday, where like it showed early, like a double top above the volume weighted average price, then it settled down. So I don't know, like it's not the exact same setup, but I don't want to be adding to it unless it's failing underneath VWAP, and then just a trend trade. That's kind of one of those. I'll put the stop in. I'm waiting for it to give me 1-to-1 or make a decision to do something different. Otherwise, I want to look for something like a HIMS that I think is a little bit bigger, or a DataDog, which I think is a little bit bigger. HIMS still holding above 46. DataDog, I'm actually looking for the reversion on, and we'll just hunt it. Like it's continuing to trend higher. Just got to be patient. As long as it's under $109 on DDOG, then I'm looking for that reversion short, and once it breaks the trend, I'm shorting it to VWAP. As simple as it gets. Let's go over to Adara. It's already 10:50, and then afterwards we'll find out what's for lunch.
The sellers coming in, VWAP sellers.
Here is the US dollar. Still some higher lows in the daily chart, but this trend here right now, last 3 days have been red. We're now back below the 100 level, currently trading around that 99.3. It's a light day for economic data, but tomorrow certainly is not, because in case you missed it or forgot, we're going to have the FOMC meeting. That will be our May meeting. We are heavily pricing in no rate change at this meeting. Currently, about 96.9% of participants are expecting we're not going to get any change in rates. 3.1% is expecting a 25 basis point cut. That's up marginally from yesterday. But again, this point pretty much priced in. We're not going to get any changes. June, if it'll load for me here. Where is June? June here, 68.1% of participants also expecting no change. So we went from having a June cut heavily priced in to now, again, seeing like it's going to be a little bit longer than we expected until we get any rate change. Now, before we send you back to the guys, I'm going to take a moment to thank our friends at ProfitX, because if you're looking for unbeatable odds in the biggest games, switch to ProfitX's peer-to-peer platform, where you set the price. No more one-size-fits-all lines. It's like crafting your own picking strategy with real-time trading tools. Secure the best odds, track the action, and watch your plays come alive. Experience total control at every step. ProfitX Sports Playing Reimagined. Users can use code TraderTV to get our sign-up offer of 2% cash back up to $300. Back to you.
I'm going to need some help from the crowd here on what is for lunch.
Okay.
Because I don't know, I have no idea what any of this is. And I'd like to think usually I would know these, because I'm from Brampton, so I should know this. Kerala beef curry, I think I'm saying that right. Cumin basmati rice, that's a win. Cabbage and carrot thoran, which I've never heard of, Thoran. Cabbage and carrot thoran, and then we get the salad. I don't know. So it's It sounds decent. I'm down with the Kerala beef curry. That sounds delicious. I'm getting a salad either way, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm not sure what this carrot theron, cabbage and carrot theron. Maybe you guys know what that is.
It's like a salad, cousin. I'm having pineapples.
Obi stole all the pineapples,
Yeah.
so let's not even.
Obi always steals the pineapple.
And like apparently
this
it's
is-
like a big thing. It's not very considerate, Obi.
Listen, here's the thing.
Cabbage thief.
I've ran the stats, right? I've ran the stats.
You didn't run any stats on me.
So visual. So it's like I don't normally back test, but I definitely forward test. So what happens is usually by the end of the day, I'll take a look at the fruit bowl. And I did that for a few weeks. And I was like, damn, there's a decent percentage of pineapple that stays in the bowl by the end of the day. Now, using that information as confluence to the fact that by the end of the day, most of that fruit gets thrown out anyways, and I'm noticing that nobody really takes all the pineapples, I might as well grab that liquidity earlier on in the morning, in the pre-market.
Or
I should grab that liquidity in the pre-market so that I can deal with it in the open market.
1 second. And I love the logic. And I love the hoops I love the mental hoops that you're jumping through right now, Obi. But I want you to do everybody a favor and show me that plate right now. Show me your bowl right now and put that right here in front of everybody.
Okay.
So it is now 11 o'clock. All of the pineapple that he stole is still there. So don't give me into this nonsense about stealing the. You didn't even eat it.
It'll be done by the end of the day.
But other people could have had some pineapple, son.
That bowl stays empty. Or not empty, it stays full.
I took
By the end of the day.
I took like 3 or 4 because I'm
Why'd you do that?
Like that? You took like 8,
I could have had those.
9, all the pineapple. That's how it is. No, at the end of the day, look, you can bring anything to a trading analogy. That's what I love.
I mean, is that not? I mean, I don't know.
No, don't look, man. I get it. You took the
sleep,
liquidity.
breathe.
I'm not the one that's going to be pineapple this today because I got mine early. That's how I roll.
Yeah.
With only about 5 minutes to go, we're going to send you guys to the midday. But one of the themes today has been the retracements back into VWAP, whether it's Palantir bouncing up into VWAP, NVIDIA bouncing and breaking. I did jump into that DataDog trend break. We're going to give it to the prior bar high. We're going to look for the VWAP retrace. Has to get to 105 first. So first stop in front of 105 and then volume weighted average price at 104.50. So that's the new trade that we're in here is just going to be DataDog. HIM's still super. I did it again. I keep hitting Nasdaq and it's a New York stock. HIM's still looking strong. It's done another pullback and fail underneath 46. Not fail. But break of the 46 level. So it's trying to hold on to that 46. I still want VWAP ideally. That'd be the right entry, I think, for myself. We're trying to be patient. It is 11 o'clock here. All right, here's where.
Look at the bid on
I appreciate you, Mean Gene. Great name. Love Mean Gene back in the day, but pineapple sucks anyway. On pizza, we're in 1,000% agreement. By itself, pineapple is absolutely delicious. And if you're looking.
It's so good for you.
It's everything.
It's really good for you.
It's delicious. It's good for you. And if you're looking for the best pineapple that you will ever eat in your entire life, well, then go to the island of Antigua and eat some pineapple from there. It's absolutely delicious. Not just mangoes. They got beautiful beaches and lovely pineapple, which I say every chance that I get to throw in there. No, pineapple is awesome. I just don't want it on a pizza, man. It's all good.
It depends. I think I like it on pizza, but it really depends on what you pair it with. I think that's a very crucial. The sweet and the savory, the sour the balance has to be there. You gotta balance the book a little bit. It can't be too weighted one way or the other. But here's a strong bid coming back here on Palantir. So, oh boy, we kind of pulled back all the way down to what is that? All the way down to my average was 107. Well, whatever, it doesn't matter. My average does not matter. The fact of the matter is that the trade is there. So we pulled back to 107s, and I think that's kind of where I was sitting at. But then when this 108 starts to bid, and we look like we're taking out some of these prior highs there. So again, VWAP on this platform here, I have at 109.17 now. Let's see if we can get to that 109. Again, now I'm in with much, much less size. Significantly less size because, again, I took a decent chunk with the size that I wanted to, maybe a little aggressive as well. Now it's following through into VWAP, so I'm more than willing to take a piece of that as well, but with, again, don't want to be too greedy. because I know I'm chasing, I'm giving it a lot of room. I'm giving it, honestly, about a point here to let it work, because if we're actually poised for VWAP and maybe we do some consolidation, maybe shake some hands out with VWAP consolidations, that is likely to happen in and around on top of VWAP, maybe, and that's above 109s, and we're stepping up into that as of right now. So let's see if we get that continuation for the upside. We talk about that market tailwind, currently trading above 19,900 on the Nasdaq with about 2 minutes left for this 15-minute candle to close. And this 15-minute candle on Palantir, very aggressive to the upside, back into VWAP. Same is the 30-minute candle as well. 30-minute prior bar break on Palantir was at, what is the price? The high is 107.50. So those players that are trading off of that prior bar break on a 30-minute, definitely well in the money right now, about a point as we're trading above 108.5. So that's good as confluence as well. I'm like, all right, there are definitely other participants on the side of this trade as well. So 109s, maybe some resistance. Let's see if the market tailwind can take us there. But Palantir, absolutely beautiful opportunities off of the open. Again, both ways. This kind of reiterates, you got to stay nimble. Whether it's long, whether it's short, I had plans for both. I had plans for the long, I had plans for the short. It does not matter. I should not care whether it goes up or down. My job as a trader is not as an analyst. So I just have to go with the flow, go with the punches, try to roll with the punches, and follow my rules to the best of my abilities. And if we're going to come right back in and we don't follow
like a little boxing action.
Yeah, just a little bit of, a little bit of boxing. But again, we're not, this is not, I told you I used to do Muay Thai.
That I knew.
But Muay Thai, my Muay Thai teacher, he taught us after classes, he taught us some moves from Muay Boran, which is what Muay Thai is a very distilled version of Muay Boran, because Muay Boran was used, it's martial arts for warriors. So each and every move is meant for effectiveness and efficiency. So it's either to hurt or to, take someone out of commission. So there's a lot of bone breaking in Muay Boran. There's a lot of insta-kill moves as well. So that, again, interesting stuff. But yeah,
I'm just waiting for Obi to do this.
So you can't be playing sports here. Sorry, you can't be playing display sports. You got to go in for the kill when it comes to trading here. And hopefully we've brought you some of that today.
Insta-kill?
Yeah.
So you got like the death pinch, you grab the dude's heart, like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, maybe some Sub-Zero. Was it Sub-Zero or Mortal Kombat?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
finish him.
There you have it. Apparently, this dude is gonna also rip your heart out because that's how he rolls.
No.
The insta
trying to grab some of this price action. That's what I'm going for, right? It's like, let's say, breaking trends.
Obi, before we go over to the midday, Pony AI just broke the high of the day. Remember, it's Uber partnering up with Pony, as they're now 15% to the upside. I don't know if it was just a news story, but remember, they're partnering up with Uber. Pony AI on 11 million shares of volume, now above the 50 on the daily. Big spike there through the high of the day. So this is starting to squeeze. And that's the biggest volume candle of the day for this punch through the high. Let's see if it can hold on to 11. That looks really good over there on Pony. Look, it's past 11 o'clock. We got the midday boys on there. Joe, of course, our good friend Joseph, reminding everybody they don't eat broccoli. So I have to remind everybody that the man has literally never had apple pie before in his entire life. So which one, you can say which one you think is a little bit more strange. I have had broccoli, I just don't like it. But someone hasn't had any pie in their entire life. And that's my man over there on the midday. Joey Options, Sharif, go get him. We'll be back at 2 o'clock. We'll see you later.
See ya.
Uh-oh, there's Donald. Uh-oh.
There it is. What a fire, the best intro there is.
Boom! Greetings and salutations, beautiful people.